Good morning. It's already time. We've also formed a quorum, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome you all to the panel on financial affairs meeting. First of all, papers issued from the last meeting. So far, we've received one information paper. Details have been set out in our agenda. Item 2 on the agenda, discussion items for the next meeting, which will be held on the 1st of June, Monday at 9 a.m. The administration has proposed the following 4 items for discussion. First, briefing by the Financial Secretary on Hong Kong's latest economic situation. Second, briefing on the work of the Hong Kong Investment Corporation Limited. Third, proposed regulatory regimes for virtual asset dealing, custodian, advisory, and management service providers. And fourth, fintech development in Hong Kong. Members, in relation to the 4 proposed items, do you have different views? No? All right, thank you. Next, we come to the third item on the agenda, which is a briefing by the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Members who wish to speak or ask questions, please press the request to speak button. Prior to the meeting, the Hong Kong MA provided a paper to us, and a summarized introduction has been tabled. Now I see the representatives from the Hong Kong MA joining us. So when you're ready, I would like to give the floor to the CEO, Mr. Eddie Yu, to brief us on the work of the Hong Kong MA, and then please set aside sufficient time for our Q&A. So when everybody is ready, maybe we need to change the nameplate, right? Well, it doesn't matter. All right. So, Mr. Yu, please. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Today, as in the past, I'll give you an overview, and then my colleagues will detail the work of the Hong Kong MA for members' reference. For the first quarter, of course, affecting the global financial and markets would be the Middle East conflict. So if you look at the graph on the left, as a result of the military conflicts in the Middle East, the global equities were volatile. In March, a drop of almost 10%. By early April, as a result of the ceasefire, so we see that there was a rebound, which was quick and sharp. As to the way forward, it depends on the development of the conflict. And then one of the biggest impacts of the conflict is on the energy costs. In the middle graph, you see the upward rise of the energy costs. LNG was also affected. And around the world, manufacturers and even other commodity markets have also increased their prices, adding to the pressure on the consumers. For the right-hand side graph, as a result of the Middle East conflict, there has been more uncertainty in the U.S. Interest rate outlook. The red line shows the expectation prior to the conflict. There was an expectation of a cut of 0.5 percentage rate, but after the conflict, it is expected that there won't be further interest rate cuts this year. As to the impact on the Asian region, well, we are mainly importers as far as the Asian region is concerned. The blue indicates crude oil and yellow natural gas on the right-hand side graph. So the region is suffering from a certain kind of pressure, but then there has been some offsetting. When you look at the central graph, as a result of the global enthusiasm for AI, so demand for tech products means that we are getting support for our exports. And then for the middle graph, for the yellow bar, it shows the tech-related products, and the blue part shows the non-tech-related products. The tech-related products demand has been rising rapidly. For the right-hand side graph, That's in relation to the economic outlook. It has been a slight drop from 3.9% to 3.8%. That's in relation to the expected growth. But then for the inflation outlook, there has been added pressure. For the mainland, this is the first year of the 15th five-year plan. And then for the first quarter, it has been stronger than expected. For Q1, the economic growth rate was 5%. For net exports, it is still expanding. And then for domestic demand and consumption, they are both stable. And then for fixed assets, there's been a rebound. It shows to a certain extent that the government's support measures are getting results. For the first quarter, there has been a lot of commencement of the infrastructural projects. And so bond issues or treasury bond issues took place earlier than that in the previous 2 years. So there has been a positive impact. And then for the right-hand side chart, it shows the inflation on the mainland. You see that the prices have always been soft, but then for Q1, you see a slight and slow increase, both for the CPI, Consumer Price Index, shown in green, as well as the blue one, that is the Producer Price Index, which is a more important indicator. In March, in fact, there was a slight increase. It shows partly the energy cost escalation. At the same time, it also shows that the government policies are generating results. For Hong Kong, we have a solid growth momentum. On the left-hand side chart, the green line shows our merchandise export, and it's been expanding all the time. For consumption, well, you can see from the red line, tourism has been faring well. We've got more arrivals, and our asset market has been quite stable. So the red line shows a gradual upward trend. And for the blue line, which is the consumption, it is rather stable. Our equity market is booming. For the turnover as well as the IPO figures, when compared with the previous year, they have been higher. For IPO in the first quarter, an increase of 30% compared with the past year. For our prices, you can turn to the right-hand side chart. It is stable, steady, about 4%. It is controllable. And then energy costs don't account for a big share, so the impact isn't that significant. So far, we see that Hong Kong's economy, when it comes to energy costs as well as Middle East conflict, I think the impacts are still within our control. This is because our tech products export is quite strong. But in any event, we're an externally oriented economy. We have to watch the development of the Middle East conflict as well as its impact on us. The risks are controllable. But then for individual sectors like the transport industry, the impact is still quite significant. Arthur will elaborate on that in a moment. For our currency market, yes, globally it has been volatile, but then we are glad to report that we are quite stable. For our exchange rate, you can see that since the middle of March, it has been softening. It is also because the Hong Kong interest rates were a bit slower than those in the U.S. So as a result, we have seen a slightly weaker Hong Kong dollar. For our interest rates, I think you know that basically we mirror that in the USA. The red line shows the Hong Kong interest rates since the middle of March as a result of the fact that short-term interest rates are related to the demand for funds. As a result of the Middle East conflict, the demand has come down a bit. So the rates have come down a bit. And then as a result of the end of the quarter, it went up a little bit. Generally speaking, the rates have been stable. The property market, since in the first quarter, well, the atmosphere, the vibe was good. it was maintained. And then for our rating and valuation department figures, in the first quarter, an increase of 4.4%. In the second quarter, in April, for the housing price indexes, like the Center City Leading Index, there has also been an upward trend. I think has been quite active for the first quarter. Turnover has increased by 8.5%, so the volume was 16,000. And then for the new properties, many developers have quickened the steps in putting them in the market, and more buyers are interested in having a transaction. Well, for the Middle East, it has an impact on our energy costs, and then for the global economy, for the Asian economy, it has added to the uncertainty. Yes, there has been volatility in the global market, but then we are still moving smoothly and steadily. And for the Hong Kong economy, we are able to keep our resilience. Domestic market, external market, as well as our asset market are showing solid momentum. We'll continue to make sure that we have financial security and stability. And the Hong Kong MA will proactively engage in the planning of the finance-related initiatives under the government's first 5-year plan. I would like to pass the time or the floor to Arthur. Yes, Arthur, please. Thank you, Chair. I will have a brief word on the banking sector performance. First of all, the credit growth as well as the loan ratio. For the first quarter, for the total deposits, they continue to increase, and an increase of 1%. For the Hong Kong dollar deposits, an increase of 1.9%. For loans, well, as a result of the fact that the cost of borrowing has been lowered than previously. So there has been an increase in the demand for loans. For the total loans, an increase of 3% in the first quarter. It is quite a fast rate. I think you are more concerned about the borrowing risk in relation to the classified loan ratio. It was 2.01%, comparable to our long-term level. We believe that the risk is within our control. Other than the collateral coverage, it is 65%. When that is taken into account, that is 140%. For Q1, we don't actually have the figures, but then we do have some initial figures. It appears to us that the classified loan ratio hasn't increased again. For the Q1 figures, the indicators are quite favorable, so we believe that it will help with the classified loan ratio. Just now, Mr. Yu said that as a result of the Middle East conflict, external volatility is significant. So you may be worried about the quality of our loans. This is, of course, something of concern to us. We'd like to support the real economy, in particular for enterprises, in particular SMEs that are less resilient. So we're going to ask the banking sector to continue to support the SMEs. Last year, our SME working group had a meeting, and we talked to the relevant banks. We would like to have a number of measures to make sure that in this climate, we can still be providing firm support to the SMEs. There are 5 initiatives. I won't go through them in the interest of time. If you're interested in any of them, I can elaborate on them. I think last time when we came, you will still recall that some members asked whether banks could be more flexible when it comes to repayment for SMEs so that they can move on to transform and upgrade themselves. So among the 5 initiatives, we have introduced a system which is a tiered and flexible repayment. You will pay less upfront and then you repay more in the later stage of the repayment schedule. That helps with the SME's transformation. Another important part of our work is fraud prevention and detection. So banks have their own systems to detect suspicious transactions. Once again, we are grateful to the LegCo because last year you passed certain amendment bills so that banks can more smoothly exchange the data of the accounts of our customers. So currently, 10 banks are already on our platform to exchange data. So one after another, we are going to increase the number of participating banks with more joining us. Then they can detect the suspicious account transactions and they can exchange the data.
And also, I hope that they can provide more options in the areas of bank-to-customer communications, especially the launch of authorized payment schemes so that they can lock up a certain portion of deposit that cannot be transferred through online measures. Since the launching last year, there are already 14,000 customers who have selected this amount, and the total amount is up to 4 billion Hong Kong dollars. We hope that more citizens will select this scheme in order to safeguard their deposit. Another highlight this year is education and publicity. Well, during summer, we will be going on campus to do some educational work among students. We will also visit different NGOs so that we can also share with the senior citizens in order to promote the messages of anti-scam. As for legislative proposals, later this year, we will be tabling different amendment proposals. These are all technical amendments, mainly focusing on the latest Basel Committee supplementary standards. Also, regarding banking legislation, that will be quite a huge amendment. A lot of options will be covered. Agenda item number 5 today will be focusing on this, and some of our colleagues will give you a detailed introduction. So that's all from me. I will passing on to Mr. Darrell Chen, Deputy Chief Executive of HKMA. Thank you, Chairman. Moving on, it speaks of the development of financial market in Hong Kong. First, let's talk about Hong Kong's offshore renminbi business. As you can see, the two charts, one focus on deposits, the other financing. We have quite some good results this quarter. In areas of deposit, actually we have an increase of 77.8%. And for financing, we have an increase of 11%. As for retail bonds, we are still during the calculations, but in quarter one, I think the overall trend is very positive. Second, I also want to speak on the 15th five-year plan. It clearly states that we have to go internationalization of renminbi and to strengthen Hong Kong's as a hub of offshore renminbi business. So we will focus on connectivity as well as flexibility in order to provide more products. In terms of market infrastructure and measures, we will also strengthen ourselves. Finally, we will also step up overseas market outreach efforts so that we can continue to enhance our functionality as a hub. First of all, we will focus on supporting real economy. Second, we will also enhance Hong Kong as a hub and its radiation power. We are rolling out a 200 billion renminbi business facility. Since it was rolled out last year, the response has been positive. Some of the banks have already used up their quotas, and we will also add it on as they apply again. There are also certain banks who did not apply for it, and they are now lining up to be part of the RBR. It is also not restricted to enterprises in Hong Kong. Another item that is related is the development of the bond market, since the bond market is one of the key pillars of internationalization of renminbi. I would like to give you an overview. Just last year, the latest statistics is that last year, the international bonds that we have issued is over 133 billion US dollars. We still rank first in Asia. We will also continue to promote the fixed assets income roadmap that we rolled together with SSC last year. We hope that we can attract more issuers and investors to Hong Kong to expand the primary bond market. In the last couple of months, we see some very good development. There are a lot of issuers who are coming to Hong Kong. Also, we also want to collaborate with mainland regulatory authorities in order to strengthen the financial market connectivity. Third, to promote the further development of Hong Kong's tokenized bond ecosystem. Apart from government being the lead, across the business sectors, we also see an wide acceptance of tokenized bond among them. We also witness a number of transactions. We will continue to promote in this regard. We will also support the government in the implementation of the 26-27 bond issuance plan. According to the budget, it will be around 160 billion. Well, I will not give you a lot of details here, but there are some key directions. First of all, we will focus on supporting mainland enterprises in going global. One of the focus is to help them in promoting the financing businesses so that we can attract more of them to come to Hong Kong for financing. And we'll also look into the tax arrangements in Hong Kong, hoping to increase our attractions in this regard. I believe that Mr. Lee will give you more detail about Project Cargo X. As for green finance, last year, we have issued green bonds of up to 37.7 US billion, and it is also 30% of the total market. Therefore, we are still playing an important role as a financing hub for green and sustainable finance. We will have another arrangement for Hong Kong Green Week. It is our third year in a row. As for stablecoin, we have already granted 2 stablecoin issuer license. In the future, our work priorities will be ensuring the licensees who can launch the stablecoins as planned, and we also want to engage more market participants. There are still parties who are interested in receiving such license. We will be in touch with them. Actually, a lot of international regulatory bodies still concerns about stablecoin, and we will be actively participating in policy discussions with them in order to ensure that our standards is up to date. As for outreach, certainly we will continue to promote. That's all from me. I would like to defer it to Mr. Howard Lee, Deputy Chief Executive. Chairman, thank you. I'll be brief. First of all, regarding financial infrastructures, well, FPS is something that we're all familiar with. In the past year, well, we still have a very significant increase. Annually, we have over 20% of increase in terms of the transaction amount and the volume, with still some very positive growth. As for some cross-border connections, including the Payment Connect as well as TonePay of Thailand, we also witness some healthy growth. We will continue to explore the optimization of different functions. While regarding the wholesale market, we also see some progress, like the central money market units. As you can see from our previous press release, we have signed an agreement with UAE so that the funding will be entering into Hong Kong market to purchase bond-related products. As Darryl has mentioned a lot of digitalization projects, we will also build up a new digital platform in order to support the future development of new financial products. I would also like to talk about fintech. As mentioned several times before, CDI, commercial data interchange. I want to give you a statistics by the end of March. Well, through CDI, we have approved a lot of supervisions and the grant. It's up to 95,000 transactions. And it is up to 76 billion Hong Kong dollars as for the amount. It is very instrumental to both the enterprises and the banks. FinTech 2030. I would not burden you with the details. This has been built on the foundation of FinTech 2025. Last year, we have completed a lot of projects already. Fortunately, in the International Financial Center Index, Hong Kong still ranked third globally. In the same index, it also pointed out that in the areas of fintech, Hong Kong ranked first in the survey. We will continue to put effort into it so that we can maintain our top position. Project Ensemble is also related to digitalization, but I will not go into details. I would also like to touch upon the performance of exchange fund in the first quarter. In Q1, across different asset class, the performance in March is taking the lead. As you are aware, since 28th of February, in the Middle East, especially in Iran, there has been a military conflict. That's why there has been volatility in the financial market. In the bottom of this chart, in Q1, the interest rate of sovereign bond increase. All the increase can be found in March. The increase of sovereign bond yield shows that the price is falling, and it is a challenge to the investors. Well, once again, the bottom chart, as you can see in the equity market, in Q1, we see an overall decrease, and most of the drop happens in March. As for the currency market, the situation is similar. Fortunately, in first quarter, generally speaking, US dollars also decreased, and it also shows that our foreign currency assets has an increase in value, and it will bring us certain profits. So our overall investment income in the first quarter. As for bonds, I have mentioned that the value has dropped. But the US bonds and other developed markets bonds has yielded certain interest income, and it offsets certain drop of bond price drop. So we have an income of 24.6 billion Hong Kong dollars, but the overall performance of market has been negative, except for foreign exchange. So in general, we have a total of 34.5 billion Hong Kong dollars as invest income. If you divide it by 4, well, this is not how we usually compare our figures, but certainly it is not as high as last year. I've explained to you that March has been a very challenging month to us all. Looking at our overall income and expenditure, basically it has reflected the invest income of 34.5 billion Hong Kong dollars. I will not go into details. If you have any questions, I will be happy to explain further. Let's move on to the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited. There are two figures. Well, first one, mortgage insurance program. In 2025-2026, if you compare our statistics from before, the applications has dropped because the government and HKMA has further adjusted its measures so that many of them can have a higher loan-to-value ratio from banks without this program. Or even the property market has been active, we don't see a surge in our applications. I believe that members are also concerned about the SME Financing Guarantee Scheme as well as the Dedicated Loan Guarantee Schemes, DLGS. Here are some figures for you. I would like to draw your attention to just a few of them, because this is what members have always concerned. Well, I did not show you the overall case numbers of the DLGS because the application period has already expired. We have already granted over 40,000 cases, and the positions that has been benefited is up to 400,000. The aggregated bad loan is 19.59, not up to 20%. Well, the DLGS was rolled out during COVID. It is a special measures So the approval period has been streamlined, and we don't have to scrutinize the repayment capability of the enterprises because we want to secure employment. So we only focus on the scale of the enterprises in approving the grant or the loan to them, so that even during COVID, people would not be prompt to shut down the companies and causing unemployment. As I mentioned, 400,000 of our employees have been benefited. As we expected, that will be will be rather high. As we apply for it, we expect it to be 25%. We hope that we will not be that high. At the moment, we are at the level of 20%. Well, I believe that the increase has slowed down a bit in the last couple of months. In the future, I believe that there are a number of factors affecting its development. Positively speaking, as Eddie has mentioned, as the economy improved, I hope that it will also provide support in the repayment capability of the enterprises. On the other hand, even when the repayment has expired, they will have the pressure of paying back the loans. How is it going to be offset requires our further close supervision. If they have the intent to repay, we will try to loosen up a little bit of our requirements in order to support our enterprises in the difficulties. Otherwise, we will be strict in our handling. Well, we will even seek legal measures in order to claw back the loans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your briefing, Hong Kong MA. Now we come to the Q&A session, 4 minutes each. Let me let you know the order of members going to speak. Chen Chen-ying, Carmen Ken, Johnny Ng, Nick Chen, Sunny Tang, Tommy Chung, Michael I, Jonathan Lampert, Albert Zhuang, Hong Kem In, and Ellen Chen. The first to kick off, Mr. Chen Chen-ying. Thank you, Chair. I've got 3 questions. First of all, in relation to the SME support schemes, it is said that we need to support the SMEs. From the banking figures, does the Hong Kong MA see that certain sectors are experiencing difficulties in prepayment? We have got a $2 billion subsidy scheme covering energy costs. So other than that, does it mean that there won't be any bad debts if they are able to repay later? Another question is about the RMB business facility. Many Asian countries are interested in the RMB business facility. $200 billion on the face of it are attractive. Many banks that have exhausted the quota would like to apply afresh. Are you going to set aside certain amounts for the new applicants? And then for stable coins, 2 licenses have been issued, but then the 2 organizations have different plans. One in the second half of the year for business accounts as well as retailers. And then for another one, it will issue in the second quarter. It's B2B2C. So it is a matter of RWA. So I want to know whether the Hong Kong MA has talked to the 2 issuers so that they have got different issuance scenarios and different issuance timetables. For the first and the third questions, I'll defer to Arthur. For the second question, you're right. For the RMB facility, we are being flexible. We're making use of the quota. We do have a buffer. If a bank would like to have more, then we will grant it. If there are newcomers, we'll also accommodate them. This is important. We want to cover as many banks as possible, in particular for the ASEAN countries that have bank branches in Hong Kong or Middle East banks having branches in Hong Kong. We do welcome their participation. The utilization rate has been favorable. If it is popular and there is a demand in the market, we can actually talk to the People's Bank to see whether we can gradually increase the scale. But first of all, we must be maximizing the existing scale before we can move on to that. Now, for the SMEs, Well, from our understanding with the sectors, certain sectors like the transport and logistics, manufacturing, import and exports, as to whether there are actual cases. As you know, that we have a hotline for SME financing. We are watching closely as to whether more calls are coming in from specific sectors. So far, this hasn't happened. As Mr. Chen has pointed out, the government has launched certain initiatives to help the sectors. Maybe that explains why the sectors have yet to come to seek our help. Last week, we had the SME task force. We have asked the banks to follow up with the clients closely, and they should let us know as quickly as possible so that we can tell whether we need sector-specific initiatives. Can we have a quick reply on the stable coins? Well, I think Mr. Chen rightly summarized the schedules as well as the product coverage. When we considered approving or not, it is simple. We'll check whether they're in line with the legal requirements as well as the regulatory requirements. Both applicants are in compliance with those. Now, for the initial plans for their issuance, it depends on their own business considerations, their own market assessments, and their readiness on all aspects. But then if you look at the longer-term horizon, I believe that the use cases would be getting more and more similar. Now, when the market is growing, when the coverage is growing, I think they will only be expanding their coverage and scale. This is but natural. At the present time, they are different. I think it is good for complementing each other. Next, Ms. Carmen Ken. Just now in the CE's briefing, he talked about the Middle East conflict and the impact on energy costs and further impacting the economy. Well, in fact, the Treasury in the second half of April, saying that there might be actions threatening our banks. This is a sensitive issue. I don't need any details from you, but I hope that you can sort of explain the matter to the LegCo. The society is concerned. What about our sort of approach? What about the guidance for our regulatory bodies? That's what is of interest to me. Next, I'm interested in the exchange fund. It was a challenging quarter. Of course, we can't simply multiply it by 4 or divide by 4 to compare the 2026 results with those in the previous years. What about our U.S. dollar assets? Towards the end of 2024, U.S. dollar assets were less than 80%. What is our current strategy? Are we going to diversify the assets in terms of the currencies so that we have got more assets that are not in the U.S. dollars? Well, you have got a lot of capital reserves. I want to know about the impact. That's my second question because I don't see it in the paper. Well, promoting the bond market. We have the roadmap for fixed income and bond issues. Well, we have got $210 billion to be issued next year. That will be the job for the Hong Kong MA. The FS said that the interest rate will be higher when compared with other issuers. Well, the FS has said that our GDP growth has been better than expected. Can we rely on that so that we have a stronger bargaining power so that we can be assured if we know more about your strategies? Mr. Yu, after Darryl, we'll talk about the bond issuance. I'll talk about the exchange fund. For the U.S. dollar assets, Carmen has been right. Towards the end of 2024, U.S. dollar assets account for less than 80%. Same is true for 2025. in the upcoming days, we will still be moving in the direction of diversification. For US dollar assets, our inclination is that we try to keep the tenor short, so that if the yields are going up, if it is a short-term one and if it's closer to a cash-like product, then the flexibility will be much larger. We want to keep it liquid. Globally, the uncertainty is huge. If we can have liquidity, then it means that we're flexible to cope with any impacts. For the $150 billion figure, I think you know that it would have an impact on our cumulative surplus. But then, as far as our income last year, it was exceptionally high, $330 billion. Even when we set aside $150 billion one-off to the government for the development of the Northern Metropolis, we believe that there will still be a surplus end of 2025. In February, when we talked about the transfer, we were still good, $820 billion that year and $700 billion in the year 2024. Darryl, our stance is clear. Whenever there is a one-sided sanction, it won't have any sort of validity in Hong Kong. It won't enforce them in Hong Kong. For Iran, well, if in fact sanctions have been imposed at the UN level, Hong Kong will enforce the UN sanctions. In this regard, Hong Kong is still fully in line with the international standards. Well, for the bond market, first of all, the government is interested in the long-term bonds, and so we try to match that as much as possible. And then, if we want to look at the longer-term horizon, we need to look at the market response. Together with the government bonds, we hope that we can keep a sort of a continuum, and that would help with the development of the bond market. And we need to bear that in mind when it comes to the bond issuance cost. We need to look at the currencies. Usually there are 4 kinds of currencies, and so we'll look at the interest rates. Sometimes the rate may be lower, but then when we try to look at the share, we will give it more consideration. Say, for example, we will have more if the rate is lower. And then we want to keep it competitive. Therefore, we have carried out a lot of roadshows. We have contacted many investors, hoping that many investors will be attracted to come to Hong Kong, both overseas investors as well as mainland investors through the Southbound Connect. Mr. Johnny Ng, 3 questions. Of course, globally, it is very uncertain. It is glad to note that we are able to keep our status as an international financial center. Now, as a result of the tension in the Middle East, it is said that a lot of capital has flowed into Hong Kong. Is that true? For Hong Kong as an IFC, I think it is important to develop our bonds. For the CMU, it is developing rapidly. I'm glad to see the participation of the Central Bank of the UAE. Now, the wholesale market, you are working on it. What about the primary and secondary markets? Are you going to launch the digital platform? And are we able to make use of the stable coins so that more overseas capital, more Middle East capital can come to Hong Kong? And then for the 100% DLGS, now the default rate is 19.5%. But what about the total amount of money repaid? $140 billion have been borrowed, and I want to know about the amount repaid and what is the strategy. I think it's good if you allow them more time to repay. And then for scams and frauds, for money safe, it is said that there are 14,000 cases and $4 billion involved. So I think less than $300,000 per case. I think there's room for more publicity and promotion. I think recently, highly educated people more senior in age are being cheated for huge sums of money. So I think MoneySafe and other measures can help. So I want to know more about the investor education. Do you have any new strategies? Thank you.
I would like to shed light on the capital from Middle East. Well, the existing conflict in the Middle East has highlighted that the market and platform in Hong Kong is safe and stable. On top of that, in the last 2 to 3 years, global investors has diversified the investment. Therefore, we have been witnessing a steady inflow of fund. The overall bank deposit has increased by 11%. In Q1, we have a 1% of increase. As we speak to the banks, we discover that there are a lot of inquiries from the customers. We hope that we will continue to improve our financial market arrangements. Well, we also improve in our safety measures. We hope that there will be even more capital inflowing, Harvard and other. I would like to talk about MoneySafe. This is still an initial stage. We will continue to promote it. Day after tomorrow, we will come to the Latchco for another promotion section. To be frank, can we rely on MoneySafe to prevent fraud or investment fraud? I believe not, because the features of those fraud is that the investors or the victims truly believe that they are making an investment. That's why they are willingly transferring the funds. While MoneySafe can offer certain help, but it cannot be too targeted, because investment scam relies on publicity and education. There will not be such a favorable investment deals in the market available, so you really need to be careful. We will continue to work together with other stakeholders in order to strengthen our efforts. Howard. As for the DLGS, we have already received 40% of our total loans. The outstanding amount, well, if there are companies who are already in legal proceedings or liquidations, it takes up half of the outstanding cases. The others, we are still working on it. We are also negotiating restructuring of their loans with certain companies. As I said, if they show that they're sincere to repay, we will offer our help. Well, as for the asset platform, our target is to accomplish it by the end of this year. After establishing that platform, through Project Ensemble, we hope that different digital payment method, be it digital deposit or stable coin, can all be transacted on that platform. Thank you. Next, Mr. Nick Chen. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, thank you for the presentation from HKMA. It's very comprehensive and useful. Thank you for your effort. I have 3 questions. First, regarding MoneySafe. Just now, Arthur has mentioned that there are about 14,000 of users and 4 billion of deposits. Are there any good stories? Is there anyone who received help because their deposits has been locked up in MoneySafe? Well, I believe that good storytelling will help your promotion, especially your sharing section at Latchco the day after tomorrow. Well, I would also like to talk about the payment ease. Well, we are expanding it to the secondary property market. What are the KPI? Well, the third questions. Well, Daryl on page 21 has mentioned about the development of stable coin. Well, are we using whitelist or blacklist as our policy direction? Are we interested in participating I mean, is there any interested parties who intend to use renminbi as the anchor in the issuance of stablecoin? Well, I would like to take the first two questions. About money safe, well, actually, we are looking for such stories. The measures has been rolled out for about 4 to 5 months only. At this moment, we are unable to find such stories yet, but we will continue to work on it. Well, of course, we don't want to have such stories happen because, in other words, there has been some attempt of scams. Well, if certain deposits has been locked up, then maybe there has been some substantial losses. But still, we believe that in terms of storytelling, it required certain skills. As for the property loans, actually, the program has been rolled out in a smooth manner. There are some secondary market transactions that used such program. While the user rate is not really high because it's still at early stages, we will continue to work with the legal sector as well as the property agents. Well, the dealers has been yielding us a lot of support, and I would like to take this opportunity to extend my thanks to them. Jaro, I don't want to say if we will adopt the blacklist or the whitelist policy because as we issue stablecoin, we want to try our best to prevent money laundering activities. Internationally speaking, in this regard, actually, countries and regions adopt different methodologies. In Hong Kong, because we want to have a stable beginning. So as an issuer, either internally or through a third-party issuer, you have to ensure who is behind those stablecoin activities. We are quite strict in this regard. Of course, we will continue to stay tuned on the international development. Perhaps like SEPTA or other international organizations would have other preventive measures in areas of money laundering. But still, it is an emerging market. We want to see if fine-tuning is required in the future. As for stablecoin anchoring on renminbi, if you are aware, earlier this year, there has been some clear policy announcement in Chinese mainland. Well, actually, any issuance of stablecoin, be it renminbi anchored or otherwise, it has to be approved by the authorities first. In all our applications, I did not see any applicants who want to consider renminbi anchored stablecoin. We have to continue to monitor the changes in the regulatory environment. Next, Mr. Sunny Tan. Well, first of all, thank you, HKMA, because we do see the performance of your great work because you have been putting effort in safeguarding our stability. I believe that the risk has remained controllable, although externally there are a lot of uncertainties. But the development of Chinese mainland has remained stable, as announced by President Xi a few days ago. If we are looking at the development at this moment, well, just now we have talked about the 5-year plan. Chairman, I believe that we have to be more proactive. I want to see if HKM may have any thoughts. Well, in the bond market, we have 130 billion market, but if you look at the U.S. market, we are talking about 10 times or above. As for the derivative tools, if you look at the yield curve of the bond market, well, as mentioned by FS last week, the yield curve can be both renminbi or Hong Kong dollars. And we have to work on the foundation for that in the coming 5 years. I'm not concerned about the charges and fees. Instead, I'm concerned about the capacity and the development of our ecosystem as a whole. Is it operable? Do we have sufficient talent in terms of regulations? Is there any ways that we can help so that we will be able to fulfill the prerequisite in order to receive and to stay stable against the uncertainties in the future? I believe that this is the assignment from the central government for us. Well, I'm very grateful for the DLGS. I believe that it has accomplished its historical assignment. Well, as for the remaining bonds, well, the 90, 80, and 100, I think I would like to know the statistics regarding the bad debts of DLGS. Allow me to respond to you regarding the bond market. For the financial markets 5-year plan, Garros has mentioned about the internationalization of renminbi. Hong Kong has played an important role in this regard. In the coming few years, through different measures, including the liquidity as well as our external cycle, we want to help the central government in a more extensive use of renminbi in the international market. If we need to use renminbi in investment market, then we have to make sure that the overseas investment do not need to exchange for the renminbi, and they would be able to take away the funds. Well, we have a lot of development in the bond market. We have both Hong Kong dollars bond as well as renminbi bond. That will be our focus in the coming few years. In the development of renminbi bond market, well, as we roll out the roadmap with SFC, we have to focus on the primary market because we do need an increase of supply, including the China's people's market as well as other enterprises. In the last 6 months, in Indonesia, Kazakhstan, and other sovereign government come to Hong Kong to issue the renminbi bond. And also the secondary market. How can we maintain the activity in the market? In the budget released by FS, he also mentioned that perhaps we need a transaction platform for bonds. Perhaps we need to assign even more dealers and issuers. We will be rolling out further policies this year. You also talk about the ecosystem and our capacity. It concerns our financial infrastructure, like the CMU. Do we have sufficient central money market unit in order to support the development of bonds? Howard? Well, allow me to talk about the SFGS. Please move to slide 33. We have grouped together both the 80 and 90% of bad debts. The total applications approved has been shown here. 80% of that is up to 127 billion. As for the 90%, is up to 34 billion. For 80% of bad debt is about 5.6%. For the 90% is about 4.8%. So it's relatively low. As I mentioned, the concept is different from the 100% loan. We are not evaluating the repayment competence before we issue them the loans. Next, Mr. Tommy Chong. Thank you, Chairman. I want to ask about Cargo X supply chain financing channels. Just now you mentioned the CDIs has put together 96,000 cases and a total of 76.7 billion. How many of them has used a Cargo X as a financing mechanism, that is, not using property as a collateral, just their own business? Because that is the key point of supply chain financing. How many cases are there? If there is any importers or exporters, including the Association of Exporters, who want to participate on the digital platform of Cargo X, is there any channels for them to apply for it in order to speed up the development of this platform? 2 questions. Howard. As for the separate figures, I don't have it on hand. I will supplement it after the meeting. If there are enterprises or parties who are interested to join, please feel free to reach out to me. I would see how can we make it happen, because as a data user and a data providers, we need to look into it further. We want to see what are the policies of the data providers so that we can decide on who to welcome as a data users. Please, HKMA, please supplement the data for the first part of this question. Thank you. Next, Mr. Michael Knight. Thank you, Chairman. In the first quarter of 2026, the southbound and the northbound in the Bond Connect is 2.9 trillion as well as 208.2 billion respectively, which is an improvement from last year. However, although the southbound connect had already expanding to securities, insurance, and funds, as well as other non-banking categories institutions, we still see a lot of market potentials. Will the government continue to expand the transaction restrictions of the southbound connect and also to enrich the types of bonds that are welcome for investment, especially the transition or the green bond, so that it will be fulfilling the demand of the Chinese mainland investors, and it is also a boost in the development of green finance in Hong Kong. In 2025, the issuance of green finance is a total of 76 billion, which is lower than 84.8 billion the year before. And the proportion is also dropping. Although HKMA has already optimized the green and sustainable subsidized scheme, expanding the scope as well as the loan for transition bond and encouraging the usage of the technology of tokenization. Under this umbrella, has HKMA established any specific KPI? I also advise that by Q4 or before, you can issue an interim report disclosing the numbers of applications after the issuance of the new measures, as well as the amount of subsidized, the changes of our market participation in Asia, so that we can adjust in a timely manner. Thank you.
Daryl, first of all, let me talk about the Bond Connect. We'll be watching the market development and would like to expand the Bond Connect in both directions in terms of the support measures as well as the product categories. We have an active dialogue with the mainland authorities covering the Bond Connect, in particular the southbound Bond Connect. The member talked about the increase in the number of product categories. Maybe we can consider allowing more participants. Well, for the bond market, well, last year we had a lot of transactions, and then in fact it would help with increasing the attractiveness of the mainland bond market. So they are important support measures. So, and then of course there are risk management products last year, as far as the products under the agreements. We have come up with many measures to improve them. So it is an ongoing exercise, and we do hope that we can make announcements in due course. For the southbound Bond Connect, whether we can increase the product categories. Well, for investors, basically they are allowed to invest in any internationally issued bonds. For green bonds, no restrictions at all. It depends on the preference of the investors. And then for the overall development of the market, last year there were certain figures that saw a slight decrease in terms of the percentage. Maybe some issuers looked at the cost of issuing the bonds as well as other factors, so they tried to make use of other channels to issue the bonds, but we are still watching it. As to the subsidy schemes, we have just carried out certain refinement. What we want to do is to see larger scales, and then for green bonds and transition bonds, we're interested in such, and we hope that they will also make greater use of our classification systems for the green bonds, the taxonomy, and in fact, yearly we issue a report, and recently the 2025 figures have been issued or published. As to the individual sectors, if you need the figures, we're happy to provide them to you after the meeting. Next, Mr. Lamport. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Hong Kong MA, for your detailed analysis. Well, globally, the economy has been under the shadow of the Middle East conflict. Many businessmen are concerned about the volatility in the U.S. dollar. Well, the Hong Kong dollar is packed with the U.S. dollar, so the outlook is most uncertain. The U.S. dollar is still the leading currency, but then geopolitics are very volatile. And in fact, we have seen many breakthroughs in different sorts of figures. And for the oil transactions, many people are advocating the use of non-US dollar currencies for the transactions. So we're concerned about the status of the US dollar. The linked exchange rate is still important for us. I don't propose unpacking it lightly. The RMB is getting more and more important. So I just wonder if we can pack to a basket of currencies instead of a single currency. Would you consider having this studied in great details? Mr. Yu, the member talked about the linked exchange rate. It has been in place for many, many years. In the past few years, it supported the stability of our currency. Well, let me say this once again and firmly, we don't intend to change it. But then at the operational level, if you try to pack the Hong Kong dollar to a basket of currencies, it will be difficult to operate. We have got a currency board in place in Hong Kong. It is a very sort of a vigorous currency packing system. If we pack it to a basket of currencies, it will be difficult. Exchange rates are changing day in, day out. Of course, if we want to have a different kind of packing, it will have a huge impact on the market confidence. If you propose a change, the market would suspect having further changes on the way. So for our financial market, for the global investors, the majority of them are still using the US dollar. Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the US dollar, and as a result, our market is very attractive to the international investors. Once you start thinking of linking Hong Kong dollar with another currency, their confidence may be affected. So we need to be careful. Let me say this once again. We have no intention to consider this matter. All right, the next one to ask questions, Mr. Hong Kam In. Thank you, Chair. Again, on my part, I've got 3 questions, and I'm grateful to the Hong Kong MA for the briefing today. First of all, anti-scam measures. The Hong Kong MA has got 4 initiatives. Yesterday, we took part in a community publicity drive. In 2025, for those deceived, $8.1 billion were swindled and involving 43,000 cases. For the deception cases, I want to know whether you have got an analysis of the age profile, income level, as well as the educational standards, so that you can more specific and targeted in your publicity drive. You also said that you want to provide support to the real economy when it comes to these measures. On the 29th of April 2026, you came up with a number of measures, in particular those sectors affected by the rising energy costs. So please let me know more about that. And then for the SME schemes, again, please let us know whether you can elaborate on that. And then for the PowerPoint, I know that the Hong Kong MA and the HCAP, together with 15 banks, set up a working group in relation to the Northern Metropolis Financial Advisory Task Force. Have you started to meet and how are you going to help with the financing in the northern metropolis? Now we are at the stage of developing infrastructure there, so I believe that there will be a huge sort of demand for financing. First of all, anti-scams. 43,000 cases. That's a figure from the police. Well, in fact, we are not in full grasp of all the figures, as some of them are sensitive. But then through the police, we are able to know about the profiles, and then we are being specific and targeted in our publicity. Investment scams were quite numerous last year, so this has become a focus this year, and we want to collaborate with the police in this regard. Well, the police has been more forthcoming in providing information to us, and so certain customers are able to get a earlier wake-up call, so to speak. Well, because the potential victims genuinely believe that they are making an investment, so we need to let them know that they are awake to the fact that they are actually being victimized in a scam. So when we know about the nature of the cases, as well as the profile of the customers or the victims, will be specific in our public education efforts. Well, banks are being asked to provide help to specific sectors. That's the members' proposal. Well, if customers have liquidity difficulties, we did ask banks to be flexible in the repayment schedule. And then during the COVID period, in fact, customers or bank clients are being assisted in easing their repayment pressure. For the task force, it hasn't had any meetings, but then we did go to the northern metropolis. That was a visit together with 2 policy bureaus. We've also had a discussion of the financing problems. We'll try to see whether the financing solutions would be more suitable for the development of the northern metropolis. It won't be long before we have our first meeting. We are collecting the issues and concerns and questions. So we hope that when we call our first meeting, we'll be able to sort out the issues related to financing. Next, Mr. Alan Chen. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the efforts of the Hong Kong MA in coming up with such a clear, timely, and succinct PowerPoint so that we're able to grasp the current picture. Let me come to my 2 questions. First of all, the RMB has become more and more like a carry trade tool. The central bank in Japan is trying to increase the interest rate. The yen has always been important in being a carry trade tool, and it is believed that this will only become more and more important. Now, for the government bonds in Japan, it is getting more and more sort of substantial. 229.6. IMF believes that that would account for 88.9%. For RMB, we have sustained a low interest rate policy. And then for the Hong Kong MA, we have the dim sum bond market. It is expanding the capacity. We have also got the southbound bond connect being expanded. So the RMB has become a carry trade tool. We have spotted such a trend. So my first question is, are you going to largely increase the capacity of dim sum bonds as well as the southward bond connect so that we can become a larger RMB pool? For carry trade, I know there are positive as well as negative impacts. the next time we encounter a financial crisis, as we know that Hong Kong has a free market, if we have got huge amounts of funds leaving the market, the carry trade tools status may affect Hong Kong. Do you agree with me? Let me try to take the questions. For the RMB, the capital cost is low, and so it is quite conducive for the internationalization of RMB. Outside of the mainland, the RMB amount is small, so countries like the Middle East may need to borrow RMB. So if the capital cost is lower, then they're willing to borrow RMB and use it in trade or investment. Of course, currently, for you to get RMB, the channels are mainly in the offshore market, namely Hong Kong. Other than our own banking system, the sources of our capital partly come from the RMB business facility. This is because we have got an agreement with the People's Bank of China. We're able to exchange RMB on the mainland. And when we further distribute the RMB to the banks, it is clear. Currently, you can only use it for trade financing or external investment. In other words, use it in the real economy. You can't use it like what you have suggested in speculative transactions, in the carry trade transactions. Currently, we believe that it is still important for us to watch it. Now, well, the financing cost of RMB is low, and so the RMB bond market has huge potential for development. In addition, the issuer found it attractive to have a lower financing cost. And then in the past 2 or 3 years, there was a need to diversify the investment, so the demand has grown. And Hong Kong is the place for financing, and in fact, the RMB business facility will be one of our focal points in the coming years.
We will continue to expand southbound bond connect. Yes, surely we will continue to follow it up with the central bank. That is what Darryl has mentioned, including the amount, the scope of investments, as well as the investment institutions. As for the funds, we have been collaborating with the central bank in order to provide renminbi to Hong Kong banks. If there is such demand, we can also expand in that regard. My apologies, our time is up. We have to give time to other members as well. Mr. Duncan Chiu. Thank you, Chairman. The facts will have the chairmanship very quickly. There are a lot of comments about the change of policies. People will be speaking of the weak US dollars and the continue of cutting of interest, as well as controlling energy supply in order to have a control on inflation. If any of these scenarios occur, or if there are any major policy changes in facts, I believe that there will be some early alert. However, 80% of our assets is still US dollars, and if we have weak US dollars, it is not that favorable to us. Is there any projections that we have? If the scenario of weak US dollars occur, how is it going to impact our economy and society? Second, regarding stablecoin, we have now give out 2 licenses of stablecoin. I believe that there are quite a number of applicants. A lot of parties are still holding up their applications. Is there any estimates that we have in the future? Will there be a second round of license being granted? Would there be any timeline, or would it be every 2 to 3 years? Such signals will help those who are waiting or wanting to apply to have the plans put together. Well, we have been holding up the linked currency exchange for over 4 decades. Well, we have witnessed different cycles in US dollars, both strong and weak. Well, the last couple of years, actually, the US dollar has remained strong before it becomes weak. our economic structure is very flexible. Therefore, we have the capacity to absorb the impact brought about by different cycles. If we have weak US dollars and thus weak Hong Kong dollars, then we will have good export performance, but it might bring about certain impact in terms of inflation. However, we have a rather low inflation in Hong Kong. Therefore, I believe that we do have the capacity to absorb any changes in US dollars. As for the currency fund, if US dollars weakens, Hong Kong dollars will also weaken, and our non-US dollars assets will increase. Therefore, statistically, it is actually favorable to me. Daryl, can you speak on stablecoin? We have been in close contact with those who want to apply for the license on stablecoin. Well, after the issuance of the 2 licenses, they have a better idea about the models of operation. This is up to them to consider whether or not they will continue to apply for it. We are still in the process of discussion. However, publicly, we have announced that after the issuance of the 2 licenses, we will continue to be open-minded and cautious. I cannot exclude the possibility of issuing any further licenses. However, we will have some very high thresholds. If we need to add more licenses, the numbers will be restricted. We will continue to remain in close contact with those who intend to apply. As we consider for the issuance of license in Hong Kong, we are not just looking at the local market. I also have to look at the changes in the regulatory environment internationally. To a certain extent, perhaps different countries or different regions might collaborate in our regulations in regards of stablecoin. So I cannot give you a very specific timetable right now, but we will continue to monitor closely. We will also remain in close ties with them. We have Holden Chow, Mr. Webster Ng, and I myself. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chairman. I have 2 questions. First, regarding the bad debts in DLGS, because the special FC have asked for statistics, we have 6.1 billion involves some illegal activities and scams. I have one suggestion for you here. I hope that maybe together with other government bodies, including the police, will you set up a task force in chasing back the bad debts that involves illegal activities? Well, because if it involves any scams, I believe that for the sake of fairness, we should step up our effort in getting it back. Second, regarding stablecoin. Since we have already issued 2 licenses, I wonder if the administration have any further understanding. I know that this is a very recent development. I just wish to know, have you been in touch with them? After receiving the licenses, what will be the percentage of the using of stablecoin? In which particular areas has it been used? Is this just some local transactions or some cross-border payments and transactions? Do we have at least some observations? Because with such observations, we will be able to further evaluate our future direction. Shall we continue to issue more licenses, for example? Or what will be the usage? Is it just focusing on local transaction, or is it focusing on cross-border payment? Well, internationally speaking, the use of stablecoin is largely used for cross-border payment. I just wonder if we have any updated in its usage after the issuance of licenses. Thank you. We very much agree with what Holden has shared. We'll be following up with the police. We shall continue to investigate in those scam cases and to penalize them. Daryl, stablecoin. Thank you, Mr. Chow. After the issuance of licenses, we have been in close ties with the two licensees. It is actually necessary because before they launch stablecoin, there are still a lot of works that they need to finish, which involves the preparation of the system. It has to be up to standard, as well as the control of risk, the personnel, the professional personnel that they have. If there are any cross-border usage scenarios, we have to make sure that they have received approval from the related authorities. It might also need to be verified by a third party, especially when we're talking about the supervisory measures. We hope that these two licensees will be able to launch stablecoin as planned. This is the highlight of our work. After the issuance of licenses, we are entering into the stage of continued supervision. We will look at the usage of the stable coins. Originally, some of them has mentioned that they will roll out certain product in phase. We will see if it is happening as planned. So this is what I meant by some long-term and continued supervision. I believe that one of the major usage of stablecoin is cross-border payment. But this is rather complex because it is not just restricted to the local market. They have to coordinate with other parties as well. That's why we will be closely monitoring so that we will have a better understanding about our experiences. It will also help us in thinking of our future development. Next, Mr. Webster Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I would like to ask about CMU. As mentioned in the document, that is the Central Money Market Unit, there has been some major upgrade with some central securities issuance. We have been forming some networks. Would there be any cost effectiveness analysis so that we will be quantify our KPI? If I understood it correctly, these kind of CMU ensembles are some diversified infrastructure. Will there be any sharing of information? I don't want to see CMU as an isolated island in terms of information. If we are able to put together an integrated financial market infrastructure, it will be very instrumental in increasing our competitiveness and attractiveness as an international financial center. Thank you for your question. Regarding CMU, we do have various policy objectives. Of course, we are providing the market with a financial infrastructure. And as you all has mentioned, we also want to support Hong Kong in developing a fixed income market. At this stage, we have to look at the financial infrastructure shortfalls that serves the fixed income market. Internally, we have set up a lot of specific targets. Well, especially there are some competence that we have fallen short in the past. We have to put together a timetable so that there will be got better connectivity and better infrastructure. At this moment, we don't wish to put infrastructure as our priority because financial infrastructure has always been our target. We want to provide the financial industry with a very general and overall foundation. It is not about our own businesses and performance. This is something that we have to continue our efforts in. As for the cost effectiveness of financial infrastructure and the sharing of information, well, this is the purpose of CDI. Without CDI, as you can imagine, when people need to acquire information, they have to build 10 bridges if they need to reach out to 10 organizations for information. However, with CDI, that is commercial data interchange, we will be able to acquire the information that we need with one single platform, be it information from the government or financial institutions, as well as long as it has consent and if it fulfill the principle of the use of information, they will be able to have access to it. I would like to add one word. Just now, Mr. Ng has mentioned something. If you look at our data ecosystem, CDI is actually focusing on loans, be it the SME financing or the trading financing. Therefore, CDI will certainly be connecting with projects like Cargo X. In the future, like corporate ID, they will all be accessible on CDI. However, when we are talking about CMU or ensembles, these are activities in the financial market, and these will also be connected. For example, in the future, ensemble, including some digital issuance, digital transactions, or digital platform in the future will also be incorporated to CMU. It also covers tokenized deposit and stable coin. This is all the usage of ensemble. So this is a two-part project. I have two questions.
Just now, some members were concerned about the overall financial infrastructure, in particular the future of the CMU, as well as the 20% shareholding by the Hong Kong X. Well, for the clearing and settlement platform, can you share with us what it is like in the future? I think it is still very sort of different from our international counterparts. Probably this should be a long-term goal. So we should be looking at a multi-asset platform. So what about the long-term division of labor with the Hong Kong X? Members are also concerned about the stable coins. You made an announcement of issuing 2 licenses. It is a piece of good news. I think you need to manage the expectation. In the early days, it was sort of over-enthusiastic. But then if we are disappointed, and if, yes, I know the authority has done a lot of work, I think it's better for you to manage the expectation so that the positive news will not become something negative and we can move gradually and in steps. Chair, you are right. Let me answer the question about the stable coins. The launching of stable coins is such that we want to be steady in our initial steps. We have issued 2 licenses. Let's wait for them to be realized, and we want to monitor their operation before we will be issuing a 3rd license. Even if we are to issue more licenses, there won't be too many. We have to check how many the market can accommodate. There may be new risks, and we need to monitor the development all the time. Our current thinking is as what I just said. Well, we will be watching the development, and as the chair said, we need to manage the expectation, and we need to public know about the approach that we have adopted. Howard, I think it is a very valid question concerning the long-term sort of outlook. Decades ago, we were trying to deal with the papers, and then the chair is right to say that we are quite different from the international counterpart. Since we have got the Bond Connect, so the scale is quite large, and we believe that we can consider a few approaches to put our efforts in. The chair talked about the products. Well, in the past, it was clear it's about fixed income, and it is quite uniform. with cooperation with the Hong Kong X, we believe that we can have a common goal. That is, whether on the platform we can cover different assets, including the digital side, so that market participants can use a single interface and work on a single platform, and things can move more smoothly. That's about the products. The second is about interconnectivity. Currently, we are working very hard to liaise with international counterparts. In the middle of the year, as we have announced, there would be a connection with our Swiss counterpart. So that through SWIFT, we are able to move to the stocks in Switzerland and later in Spain. And then the third one is about the service. You hold the assets. What about repurchase? And what about using it as a collateral? And what about the borrowing of stocks? All such will be considered by us, but it takes time to develop them so that we have a highly efficient platform for our participants. All right, thank you. Thank you, Hong Kong MA, for participating in this part of our meeting. Now we come to the fourth item on the agenda. Enhancement of the Inland Revenue Department's information technology systems and facilities to strengthen tax compliance and filing work. So please invite the relevant public officers to join us. For members who would like to speak, please press the request to speak button. I would like to welcome the representatives from the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, as well as the Inland Revenue Department. When you are ready, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Joseph Chen, Acting Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury. Mr. Chen, please be brief, as I would like to set aside sufficient time for members' questions. Chair, members, good morning. We are here to brief you on the proposal to enhance the IRD's information technology systems and facilities to strengthen tax compliance and filing work. We have always leveraged IT to enhance the efficiency, accuracy, and reliability of our tax administration systems. We'd like to meet the international tax requirements developed by the OECD. With the increasing complexity and of financial transactions and the rapid evolution of global tax transparency standards, our existing IT systems can neither meet the emerging needs nor process the latest data requirement of the international reporting framework. We have got the following proposals. First of all, we'd like to enhance the systems for implementing AEOI. Well, it has been expanded by the OECD in 2016 and has been extended to the digital financial products. All participating organizations will, with effect from January 2027, make use of the extensible markup language schema 3.0. Therefore, we need to upgrade our system so that in the reports, we can cover the digital products as well. Secondly, we'd like to develop the crypto asset reporting framework portal. OECD has introduced the framework, and in this first half of 2026, we are going to introduce an amendment bill to amend the IRO to require reporting crypto asset service providers to collect the required information from 2027 for ROD's exchange with partner jurisdictions from 2028 on an annual basis. We'd like to have a dedicated portal so that it is a secure, efficient, and user-friendly channel for submitting CRF returns and information. Thirdly, we'd will adopt the Exchange on Tax Rulings XML Schema 3.0. In year 2017, the ETR XML schema was developed, and then in January 2027, we need to adopt the latest XML schema 3.0 to provide additional information. So we need to upgrade the system to support data exchange under schema 3.0 to ensure we can continue to fulfill the relevant international obligations. Fourthly, mandatory e-filing of profits tax returns. We are going to make it mandatory. We need to upgrade our system so as to tie in with the requirement of mandatory e-filing, as well as the latest standards issued by the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Fifthly, enhanced unified tax regime for funds. Well, under the UFR, we would like to have a dedicated filing mechanism. We are saying that there should be a dedicated electronic filing platform for funds under the UFR so that they can register and they can provide the relevant information. Starting from 2026, we're going to gradually introduce the initiatives, hoping that they will be ready within the current year, and it will take $76 million. And then from 2028-29 onwards, the annual recurrent expenditure will be increased by $3 million. The net increase will be $3 million, and we'll try to absorb the relevant costs within the RRD's existing resources. And then we can make savings by replacing manpower with the systems. And in fact, the savings would be around about $80 million. We're happy to take questions from members. We look forward to your support so that end of this month we are able to approach the FC for funding approval. Thank you. Thank you, Acting Secretary. It is now time to let members ask questions. I would say 3 minutes each for Q&A in the following order. Members who wish to speak: Carmen Ken, Sunny Tang, Johnny Ng, Chen Chen Ying, Webster Ng, Hong Kim In, Alan Chen, and Lee Kwong Yu. Ms. Ken. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I speak in support of this proposal. The Acting Secretary has already given us a succinct briefing. Well, for the AEOI, under the OECD, it has been imposed on us as a requirement, so we need to amend our law. And then for the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework Portal, I want to know about the timetable so that we know about the flow chart. You need to go to the FC. I want to make sure that the amendment exercise can tie in with our schedule. And then a question is about funds, and as well as the trusts. I think for us to get the figures concerning funds and trusts, it is important. Now you're going to enhance the mechanism. It means that we are in a better position to know about the funds and trusts that we have got, and we can get the data. Can you not elaborate on the significance of this step? 2 questions. Mr. Chen. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your questions. I will defer the second question to the IRD. First of all, for the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework Portal, in the first half of this year, we're going to introduce the relevant amendment bill to the LegCo. And it will take effect from 2027 onwards. For the second question, IRD, please. Yes, IRD. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your question. Currently, for funds, it is a self-assessment mechanism. So funds don't have to be registered with the IRD. We believe that it is not quite satisfactory. Therefore, we would like to have a declaration system or reporting system so that the funds and the fund managers must in relation to funds under them have a one-off exercise and declare them to the IRD. We hope that the system itself won't be too complicated in terms of huge compliance costs. Therefore, the reporting system will be by fund manager. All he has to do is to submit a form and to tell us about the funds under his name. We hope that we can strike a balance. On one hand, we get the data we want. On the other hand, we won't make it a burden in relation to the compliance costs on the managers. And as a result of this, we are going to have an electronic reporting mechanism. This will go some way to help fund managers to report to us. What about trusts? You covered funds, but what about trusts? For trusts, well, in fact, it isn't being covered by this UFR portal. That's not one of the objectives. For the current exercise, it is mainly about the funds.
Next, Mr. Zenitan. Thank you, Chairman. I would like to learn about the optimization of the information system of IRD. Actually, the report has been very clear in regards about the reduction in manpower and the cost. I think it is easy for us to give you our support. So first of all, I do support you. Second, because we also need to keep in line with the international standards and requirements. Hong Kong as an international financial center, this is what we ought to do. The only question that we have is, well, because there is a budget that the LegCo has to approve. I'm not trying to ask you a question, I just wish to understand. I believe that the IRD will continue to optimize other parts of the system, but now you are approving one particular part already. Would this application delay the development of the other systems? Because I believe that there is a lot of INT improvement can enhance our productivity, especially to find out those who should pay tax but have been avoiding it. Is there any measures to improve? Perhaps you can also table it at the LegCo in a timely manner so that we can continue to improve our system. Thank you. Director, thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your question. Let me respond first, and then I will defer to IRD. What member have said is very correct. Apart from this item today, we have been trying to make good use of our INT in order to optimize our operation. For example, in improving the assessment of tax and to enhance the user experiences, these are all areas that we focus on. At this moment, IRD is already planning to continue to improve related system on top of the INT system we have. For example, we want to further integrate our internal system and to improve the e-filing system as well as the interconnections or the comparisons across platforms, tagging, spotting inconsistencies and abnormalities so that the tax assessors can continue to enhance our productivity. We will also improve our accuracy and categorization according to the outstanding amount and types of tax. These are the future areas that we will continue to improve in terms of the application of INT. IRD, please be brief. Thank you, Chairman. Well, a number of areas that we are proposing related to the international standards, especially the requirement of OECD, because there is a time limit, so it is rather urgent. That's why we are reporting those measures that are related to international standards first. As Secretary has mentioned, the IRD is already putting together an INT upgrade within the department. Well, the direction has been mentioned by Mr. Chen. We want to emphasize the use of AI so that we can enhance the workflow as well as our documentation. We will also explore if there is any future direction in enhancing our capability in tax investigations. Thank you. Next, Mr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I very much support this item because it helps us to be aligned with international standards, and it is also a renewal of our internal procedures. Well, I believe that tax data is very critical. It is like taking temperature of our economy. There are also other measures, including talents. IT enterprises, sometimes they have invest a great deal in R&D. Would there be any output? I don't have this kind of tax data. Well, maybe it does not concern IT. Maybe it's a legal matter. Could there be more data sharing within the government so that in the future, when you put together these major policies, it can be more accurate? For example, after the talents come to Hong Kong, can they really generate revenue or tax income for us? On page 10, there is an evaluation of a risk factor where we spend 110,000 of hiring and supervisor to evaluate our cyber risk as well as personal privacy. Well, it requires about 70 million, and 90% of it has been spent on talent or personnel. I just wonder, because we are talking about 110,000 Hong Kong dollars that will be spread over 2 years. Nowadays, we have a lot of cases like data leaks. I just wonder if it will be sufficient. Thank you, Chairman, and your support, as well as your question. I would like to take your first question. The second question, I will defer to IRD. Well, overall, if you look at the tax data, it will be like taking temperature of our economy. We will see how different industries or enterprises are doing. At different periods of time, we will also witness variations. It is certainly helpful in making analysis for our policies. We will continue to work together with the bureaus and departments in our collaboration. Second question is about the budget. IRD. Well, about the data security. IRD will follow the information technology department. They will give us a series of standards in terms of security. As for this system, actually it is built upon the existing INT infrastructure. Therefore, it does not have to rely on the wrong security system. That's why the security of IRD is strictly in compliance of the government standards. We will also pass all the tests provided by the police. There will also be some practical teams that conduct tests and trials, which include some top-tier INT experts from Chinese mainland. They will test on our system and websites in order to ensure security as well. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Chin-ying. Thank you, Chairman. I do support this item. Tax competitiveness of Hong Kong relies on the effectiveness of INT as well as the integrity of the data that they have. I have two questions. First, about the budget. It involves a 14 million of non-current expenditure within IRD through the IRD said that it can be fully absorbed through internal staff redeployment. There is also a 3 million recurrent expenditure. IRD said it will be able to absorb within existing resources. So non-recurrent and recurrent together, would such a redeployment affect the existing service provision of IRD? Is that a guarantee that it will not be affected? I can see that there will be a lot of contract staff. As you have mentioned, the system is rather sensitive. It has to be dedicated to suitable contract staff. It cannot be just hired through tendering. Do you have enough reliable service providers so that when you hire the contract staff, it can be competitive enough? Secretary, thank you, Chairman. And thank you, member. Your first question is about use of resources. Second, about the recruitment of staff. I would like to defer it to IRD. Thank you for your question. Allow me to respond to the non-recurrent expenditure of 40 million as well as the $3 million of recurrent expenditure. Most of the expenditure will be spent on staff, that is salary. Within our department, we have a team that is familiar with INT. They are all experts. So we will be tapping into their expertise. That's why the additional cost will be allocated on the works that involves the upgrading our platform. How about contract staff? As for the recruitment of contract staff, well, it is our usual practice to hire contract staff to upgrade our INT system. The staff that R&D hired will be focusing on planning. If it involves some practical work of testing or programming, we will be hiring contract staff in the market. There is sufficient supply in the market. According to our experience, we will be able to secure enough talent to cover the works. Next, Mr. Webster. Thank you, Chairman. I do support this arrangement. I have two questions. First, paragraph 20 and 21, I can see that there is a reduction of cost of 5 million. We will be also reducing the cost of operating staff of around 75 million. What is the computation? Are you just multiplying your usual human resources cost with the number of cases in Annex A? You are also Appendix A. Actually, it shows that 90% of your budget has spent on contract staff. So how can you effectively manage your recruitment? Second, your document has also mentioned about mandatory e-filing regime, and it has to fulfill HKFRS 18. You plan that by April 2027, the first version will be rolled out. In other words, by March 2028, we'll have to make the first e-filing. The listed companies are rather nervous about this. In case there is any delays, would there be reasonable grace period or transitional arrangements so that there will not be any unnecessary penalty? Secretary, thank you, Chairman. There are two questions. First, about the composition of our expenditure. Second, about the mandatory e-filing of profits. I would like to defer them to IRD. Allow me to speak on the second question first. That is the e-filing of profit tax returns. Well, because the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants have amended the provisions of Hong Kong Financial Reporting Standard 18. Therefore, the updated taxonomies and enhanced preparation tools required upgrade in our system in order to comply such standard. We are also aware that there are companies who required more preparations in order to comply with such standard. It's rather complex. Well, we can see that there are still 2 years' time. So we will be monitoring the progress. If there are certain companies that find it difficult, we will exercise our discretion to extend the deadline of submitting the tax returns. Regarding your first question, that is the reduction of cost by 75 million. Here is our assumption. If we leave out this upgrade, then everything has to be done manually. Therefore, the majority of the 35 million of course that can be saved are calculated according to our working hours. We are estimating how many additional staff we have to hire and how much salary we need to pay. Thank you, Chairman. Next, Mr. Hong Kam In. Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, members from IRD. Well, in order to comply with the transparency requirements of international bodies as well as that of OECD, I do agree that IRD's suggestion of upgrading of system. A total expenditure of 76 million will be involved. It is not astronomical because there are also costs that can be saved. Well, my question is, have you been settling on any contractors? Would you have to ask for more budget in the future? Second, 14 million will be dedicated on some non-recurrent staff. And they are all and it is said that such $14 million will be fully absorbed through internal staff redeployment. Well, if you can redeploy your internal staff, then why would there be additional cost of around 14 million? Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chen, questions in 2 areas. I thank the member for his questions and his support. I will defer to the IRD for the second question. For the first question, we're asking for a sum of money and we would like to consult your views before we apply for funding approval. We hope that we can apply to the FC for approval and would like to have it done within this month. After applying for this funding proposal, we do not foresee having to come again to get more funds. RRD, well, $14 million being cited here in relation to the non-recurrent staff costs. We are mainly talking about staff costs, and as it has been pointed out, within the RRD, we do have a team of experienced IT talents. So if we are to carry out the proposals in the paper, we'll be relying on our internal or our in-house staff talents, and they will be dedicating their time to this task. So it's a matter of allocation that we try to turn their salary into the costs involved in this project. So it isn't actually an expenditure. We are talking about internal redeployment of our in-house resources. Next, Mr. Alan Chen. Well, I must support this item, $76 million for the non-recurrent expenditure. Anybody interested in software development would say that this is really bargain for money. And then we are going to save $75 million. So, and the additional recurring expenditure is $3 million. Again, very reasonable. You are able to have annual savings of operating costs of around $75 million. So the PE is more than 1. So it is worth investing in this project. So I praise you for coming up with this idea, and I will certainly support you. Well, for the non-recurrent expenditure, $69 million will be on contract staff, and then $7.9 million will have 90% of it being spent on contract staff. Our understanding is that it will be contracted out. How come that you still need that many contract staff? Does it mean you are contracting it out, or you have the IT staff members in-house, but then they are already being paid, so how come they still need to spend on the contract staff? And then for the annual recurrent expenditure, you are quite detailed in the non-recurrent expenditure. For the annual savings of operating costs of around $75 million, is it because time has been saved? Time saved doesn't translate into cost saved. Mr. Chen, I thank the member for his questions. First of all, expenditure on contract staff. Second, the savings of $75 million, which is operating costs. You want to know the breakdown. So maybe the RD can give you the details. RD, please. For the non-recurrent expenditure, contract staff costs account for the huge chunk of the money needed. This is because for the proposals in the paper, some of them are to align with the international taxation requirements. So timetable is tight. We have in-house talents, but then other than this task, day in, day out, they need to maintain our IT systems. Therefore, when we have additional tasks, they can only play the role of a coordinator. The daily development of software and the testing exercises can only be taken up by contract staff to be recruited. Otherwise, we may not be able to beat the deadline. As to the second question, the $75 million to be saved in theory, this is on the assumption that had we not carried out the proposed task, we need to get manual manpower to carry out the work. So it isn't a sort of real figure. It is but an assessment. If we don't have the system and we have to do it manually, then the amount of money needed to recruit such staff. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, and then I'll ask my questions, and then I'll draw a line. Mr. Lee. Thank you, Chair. I support the upgrading and enhancement of the IT systems. 60% will go to the international taxation requirements, 30% to be spent on electronic tax filing. For the salary tax, and that accounts for 25% of your revenue. Now, in fact, employers have provided a lot of information for us. Can we not have a lot of information pre-filled for us? I do not see the details here. And this way, employees can save more time. Every year, we have 2.4 million returns. And you need to buy stamps, you need to have administrative costs. So if we have pre-filling of the information, we can be saving $100 to $200 million. So whenever you talk about enhancing your IT systems, that's the area that you should focus on. In this way, we can add to the accuracy of the tax returns, and we can avoid tax evasion and tax avoidance, and we can prevent the sort of wastage of revenues, and that is internationally sort of agreed. So would you like to add this element to your proposal as well? Mr. Chen, I thank the member for his questions. Let me share a figure with you, and then I'll defer to the RD for the detailed answer. The member is right to say that promoting electronic filing of tax returns has always been our objective. The IRD as well as the citizens will enjoy the benefits of higher efficiency. For individual taxpayers' returns, we do have KPIs. For the year 2025-26, over 40% of the taxpayers, that is, I'm talking about individual taxpayers, they filed their tax returns electronically. For the year 2026-27, we would like to see an increase of no less than 5% for individual taxpayers. For the year 2022-23, for 4 years in a row, we are able to record a 5% increase in the number of taxpayers filing e-returns. RD, let me sort of publicize ourselves. We hope that the majority of the taxpayers will file electronically. Today, we are sending out the tax returns to individual taxpayers. We'll appeal to the public to use the electronic means. And we have been launching different initiatives all the time. If you are already into electronic filing, we will pre-fill the salary paid by your employer. And if in the past years you have been applying for parent allowance and children's allowance, we also pre-filled the information for you. So if you are into electronic filing, in fact, you will find it a very fast and efficient means. Last year, there was an mobile application for individual taxpayers. So in fact, you can do it anytime, anywhere, and you can check your taxation status on your mobile phone. That's all I want to supplement. Finally, let me ask questions in two areas. First of all, we need to meet the OECD's requirement. And as an IFC, we need to align ourselves with the international taxation standards and requirements. What is important is while we align with the international standards, we won't be overburdening ourselves as well as the taxpayers, and we won't be implementing them earlier than our counterparts, or we are being more sort of demanding than our counterparts. Well, for this proposal to be implemented, banks and non-bank financial institutions need to tie in with your arrangements. Are you going to have modules or templates ready for the banks and non-bank financial institutions? Because they need to draw up legal documents in order to liaise with their clients. So if you have reference materials for the financial institutions, it will be nice. So do you have any templates or things like that? Thank you, Chair, for your questions. I'll take the first one. For the second question, I will defer to the ROD. Chair, you're right to say that Hong Kong as an IFC, on the one hand, we need to meet our international obligations in the field of taxation. This is to safeguard our status as an IFC and a reputation. And we want to be compliant so that we won't. While at the same time, we don't want to increase the compliance costs. We have to come up with the management policies, and we have to make sure that local enterprises can balance their compliance costs with efficiency. So whenever we devise our policies and initiatives, we'll meet the international obligations. On the other hand, we want to enhance the efficiency, and we want to reduce the increase in the compliance costs. Let me defer to the RD in relation to the Chair's suggestion to provide templates. Thank you, Chair. Let me cite two examples. First of all, the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework portal. It will be a dedicated portal, and we do provide a tool for the sector to facilitate their reporting. Another example would be in relation to the Unified Tax Regime for Funds. This is a brand new portal, and we studied the international experience. Others would be requiring the reporting by funds. Our case is easier. we do it by fund managers. A fund manager only need to fill out one single form, even for 10 funds under his name. In this way, we can cut the compliance cost. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Bureau for your briefing and answering our questions. As stated in paragraph 23, subject to your views and support your proposals, you plan to seek funding approval from the FC in May 2026. Members, any views on this proposal? No? All right. Thanks. Let me thank the Bureau once again for taking part in this meeting. Now we come to the fifth item, proposed amendments to banking-related legislation. For members who wish to speak, it is time for you to press the request to speak button. So I'll give the floor to the administration once they have settled down.
Welcome members from FSTP as well as HKMA to join us at the meeting today. We would like to first invite Mr. Francis Ho, Deputy Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, to give us introduction. Please be brief in your presentation so that there will be enough time for members to ask questions. Anytime you're ready. Thank you, Chairman. Members, good morning. Today we will be share with you some proposed amendments to banking-related legislations which cover the Banking Ordinance, the Financial Institutions Resolution Ordinance, as well as the Hong Kong Association of Bank Ordinance and their related subsidiary legislation. There are 6 major areas. First, concerns the simplifying the current 3-tier banking system into a 2-tier system. As you are aware, Hong Kong has been operating a 3-tier banking system comprising licensed bank, restricted licensed bank, and deposit-taking bank companies. This system has been in place for over 4 decades. However, as the market environment and the regulatory framework has changed, there are only 11 deposit-taking companies, and they account for only less than 1% of the total market. Since 2009, there has been no application for authorization as a deposit-taking company. Looking at the reality, we believe that there is no such need to maintain the tier of deposit-taking company. This will help simplify our monitoring system. There will be a transitional period of 5 years so that existing deposit-taking companies may opt to become a restricted licensed bank or to cease its deposit-taking businesses in phase. The second area of amendments involves introduction of certain provisions in respect of bank holding companies. Under the Banking Ordinance, there is not any provision for direct regulatory powers over the bank holding companies. Under the banking ordinances, there are requirements over the bank holding companies which are imposed indirectly. We suggest that there has to be some new provisions so that the monetary authority will be able to require a controller to establish an immediate holding company incorporated in Hong Kong, and they can also be regulated, for example, in terms of capital, risk resilience, as well as the appointment of CEO and directors. We can also authorize the MA to exercise certain resolutions against them. It will be more certain in our regulations. And it is also not adding any material burden on the existing companies, so there would not be any additional compliance cost. Third, modernizing enforcement provisions under the BO. Under the BO, the monetary authority is insufficient. At this moment, the MA has been lacking intermediate disciplinary powers like reprimand, impose a pecuniary penalty, or to prevent certain persons from taking on certain positions. We are aware that the US, the UK, Australia, and Singapore, that is all other major financial centers, all have these kind of more comprehensive intermediate disciplinary powers. Therefore, we would like to take reference to other related legislature in Hong Kong and to give the MA related intermediate disciplinary powers. Fourth, engaging skilled persons. With the development of digitalization and the INT sectors, in recent years, the AI's operations have become more and more complex. It may not be sufficient for us to do everything in-house. Therefore, we would like to allow the monetary authority to appoint a skilled persons to assist those monitoring functions. Those AI can also appoint a skilled person in order to prepare and submit certain report to the MA. 5. Technical amendments. We suggest a range of technical amendments to the BO and related subsidiary legislation, including the reduction of compliance burden and to allow AI to announce the accounts as well as auditors' report and directors' report online instead of a public publications. We also allowed the MA to clarify the regulations on deposits. It will reduce the cost of compliance. It is also spelling out more clearly the regulations. Finally, amendments to other banking-related legislation. We will be amending the FIRO. Within FIRO, we want to include public interest as one of the criteria so that it can enhance the flexibility of a resolution authority. Second, regarding the Hong Kong Associations of Bank as well as its ordinance, we will allow them to use virtual meetings, technologies, and electronic means of communications in order to enhance the effectiveness. Regarding all these amendments, actually between 2023 and 2025, we have conducted a series of consultations. By the end of 2024, regarding certain legislation amendments, we have also consulted this panel. If approved today, we plan that by June 2026, we will be introducing such legislation amendments to the LegCo. Thank you for your introduction. Question and answer time. Well, since we have quite a number of items today, so question and answers include 3 minutes. Allow me to read those who intend to speak. If there are other members who intend to speak, please be soon. First, we have Johnny Ng, Chen Chun Ying, Mr. Carmen Kan, Alan Chan, and Hong Kam In. Mr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I do support this amendment. I believe that the administration has been conducted a series of consultation and received support. I have a number of questions. In the document, it said that for the purpose of supervisions, you want to allow the bodies to hire skilled persons, and this is something that has been widely adopted outside of Hong Kong. Where exactly are you looking at? For the skilled persons, I mean, who or which institution will be nominating them? And also, they allowed MA to investigate into certain cases. Well, that means there will be additional works. Will that be additional cost involved because it takes resources? During investigations, will there be guidelines provided for them? Thank you. HKMA. You are asking if there is related legislature. Of course, in Singapore and the UK, there are related provisions. Well, when skilled persons, who are we referring to? I think normally we are talking about the IT-related skilled persons or those that are involved in cybersecurity sector. Certainly, it does not include that there might be other types of skilled persons that are required. Therefore, we did not spell out what exactly are the skills that we are looking at in the future. Through guidelines, we will be able to stimulate the scope more clearly. Please wait. The mic needs to be turned on first. Please try again. As said, well, under certain ordinances like the anti-money laundering ordinances, we are already given the power to investigate. So there is not much impact. We already have an existing investigation team. I believe that the existing investigation team can carry out such work. It will not bring huge impact to us. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Chen-ying. Thank you, Chairman. As early as 2023, the HKMA has already been consulting with the banking sector. Well, at the beginning, the sector had different views and suggestions regarding the implementations. After communications, HKMA had fully absorbed our comments and make adjustments. I have spoken to the sector. They all support these amendments that you are proposing today. I only have two questions. First, about the safeguarding of deposit. At this moment, the restricted license bank and deposit-taking companies are not members of that council. When we have implemented two-tier system, can we allow them to join that program so that our coverage can be extended? Mr. Johnny Ng has also asked about the hiring of skilled persons. Under the existing requirement, it is allowed that MA can hire the skilled persons if necessary, and they will be bearing the cost. However, if there is insufficient regulations, then the cost will be adopted by the related regulators. Will the HKMA or monetary authority compare cost and to consult the views of the institution to make sure reasonable cost? FSTB. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your support, Mr. Chan. I would like to defer the questions to HKMA. Thank you. Your first questions focus on the safeguarding of deposit. Well, as you are aware, upon your comments, we have started the review of such program earlier. We will start next year, and certainly we will look into the clients that are saving money at a restricted license bank. We will certainly look into that as we conduct the review. Your second question concerns the expenditure regarding the hiring of skilled persons. Of course, if it is hired by HKMA, then the cost will be borne by us. However, if we are requiring the bank to appoint a skilled person, then it depends. Sometimes we suspect that the bank may be falling short in certain area, then they have to report to us. In that case, the bank has to bear the cost. However, number one, if they hold different views regarding the cost, they can voice out the comments through our review mechanism. Second, if we require an AI or a bank to appoint a skilled person to prepare a report, in the process, we do have to consult the bank. Both parties have to agree on this. Next, Ms. Carmen Kan. Thank you, Chairman. I have two questions. First, about assigning the bank holding company. Well, I do welcome that. I have to declare that at a bank in Hong Kong, I am currently providing services. you also talk about the local bank holding company. So that person might be from overseas. It says that it will enhance our clarity as well as effectiveness. So this is something that is already in place. This is just an additional provision. So we are only including this in forms of legislature. So we are not trying to create some more stricter provision. This has to be clarified, otherwise there might be some misunderstanding. Well, as a member from the banking sector and now a legislative councillor, I do agree that there needs to be some intermediate measures under the banking ordinance. Well, because this is as strict as possible, the license or the operations can be revoked or suspended. So adding in some intermediate measures is something that I welcome. I wonder if there is any channels for review. In the document, you also mentioned that if public interest is fulfilled through negotiations, some dispute can be resolved. As SFC targeting at an accounting firm, they are resolving the disciplinary actions through mutual agreement. Can you give us more explanations? FSTB, my apologies. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Kan's question. Under banking ordinance, regarding the bank holding company, well, actually, under Section 70 of BO, there is already some provisions over the bank holding companies imposed by attaching conditions to the consent given by monetary authority. Now we are only spelling out such conditions in a separate legislature so that we can have direct monitoring over them. So it will be direct and not indirect. The conditions or the requirements that we add will not be more severe than what we now have. It is only a change in expression. We will be doing it more directly. You have also asked about the enforcement of certain legislature. As you are aware, while the law enforcement efforts of HKMA under the banking ordinances is actually required by it is reviewed by the Banking Review Tribunal. Or as for the implementation, I would like to defer to Mr. Chen from HKMA.
多謝
Hong Kong MA. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Ken, for your question. Francis was right. Under the BO, for the enforcement decisions, well, if banks are in disagreement, the banks can refer the case to the Banking Review Tribunal for a review of the disciplinary decisions. As to the question of by way of an agreement or reconciliation, we try to resolve the problems. We don't have anything similar to that under the intermediary. Intermediary actions. We are sort of proposing the required powers now. Mr. Alan Chen. Well, first of all, I support the idea to streamline the three-tier system so that it will become a two-tier system. Even when I was a student, I found it unreasonable. It was overly complicated. But of course, we mustn't forget the possible side effects. There may be entities outside the regulatory framework. Some DTCs may give up the license and choose not to upgrade themselves. They may fall outside the regulatory framework. So do you think that there will be a regulatory vacuum? And then for competition within the sector, for smaller organizations, they will have financial pressure. it will go up from $25 million to $100 million when it comes to the capital requirement. So has the Hong Kong MA considered the countermeasure? And then for digital finance, it is said that the administration, the Hong Kong MA may declare that as to whether a certain product can be regarded as deposit. Will you come up with something clearer, open, and forward-looking assessment criteria so that the market can tell what it is like for your regulatory work? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for the TDCs and the impact of the proposal. As I have said, the Hong Kong MA staff have had close liaison with the sector. So maybe Mr. Chen can talk to you about the response of the 11 TDCs and what they plan to do upon amendment of the bill. He can share with you the initial response. And then for the technical amendments, well, we're going to clarify the definition of deposits. By having that amendment, it means that we'll have a greater flexibility when it comes to banks wishing to have innovative financial products. Mr. Chen, for the proposal to change it from a 3-tier to a 2-tier system, the member has got a very valid question. We know that the majority of the TDCs, for them to become restricted licensed banks, they need to meet the capital requirements. Our understanding is that the majority of them can meet this requirement. So as long as they're willing, I don't think capital should become a barrier. Many of them have indicated to us that they're interested to upgrade themselves to become a Tier 2 institution. And then assuming that a TDC doesn't want to upgrade themselves, it may be outside the Hong Kong MA's regulatory framework. It will still be under our control. It is still a financial institution that will be regulated, so we are not worried that there would be a regulatory vacuum. Well, digital products. For the financial products that we see today, when we compare them with our current definition for deposit, I don't see any contradiction. But then the sector is developing so rapidly that we need to keep a degree of flexibility. In future, a product may emerge which will be quite close to our definition of a deposit, but yet not fully matching the requirements in law. So we want to have a quick channel to decide whether it should be regulated under the BO. So we need to be tactical, and we have got a very good set of procedures. It doesn't mean that today we see a product and tomorrow we make a ruling as to whether it is a deposit or not. We will have the LegCo involved. It will via a negative vetting system to change the law. So we need to walk through the procedures and it will be transparent. Today we don't see the need yet, but we are getting ourselves ready for the future. Time is up, so the next to speak would be Mr. Hong Kam In. Thank you, Chair. In 2023, all the way up to 2025, consultation has been carried out by the Hong Kong MA. As stated in the paper, the IA, the MPFA, HCAP, Association for the DTCs, etc., have been consulted. And the paper says that you have the support from all of them. Other than telling you that they are in support, have they come up with any suggestions, and have they told you what concerns them? If their concerns have been addressed, please elaborate on your response. Thank you, Chair. Why don't we defer to Mr. Chen from the Hong Kong MA? Yes. Yes, let me try to answer, and then Raymond or another colleague can supplement. Usually, they would like to seek elucidation. Well, for the bank holding company, they want to know whether there will be any change. Well, substantively, they are the same. And then for skilled persons, are you going to have a list of such skilled persons? We say that it will be difficult to come up with a list, but then in fact the Hong Kong MA has been issuing guidelines. We can do so by having guidelines to clarify the picture. Other suggestions have been considered and even taken on board. So maybe Mr. Wen can answer the question, and then Raymond may also supplement. Let me supplement on one point. The member also touched on that. That is, if the Hong Kong MA is to employ a skilled person to carry out the work, we may have to ask the banks to reimburse us. So members were interested to know where we draw the line and whether there is an appeal mechanism. We took on board such a concern, and if banks dispute the amount of money that they need to reimburse us, they can approach the Banking Review Tribunal to have the case reviewed. That's all I want to say. Raymond? Well, when it comes to the enforcement powers, the sector has got some views. One being that originally we said that we would like to empower the monetary authority to be armed with a series of powers, say for example imposing an order to remedy the situation on the banks, that is the remedial order. The sector is concerned as to whether via such a approach banks will be asked to compensate their clients for their loss. Having noticed the concern of the banking sector, we came to the view that via the remedial order, we would like to have the internal control system rectified. We considered the BO, and in fact, we already have powers to reach such an objective. We made reference to the insurance ordinance, and the regulator doesn't have a similar power. So we took on board the view of the sector, and we no longer insist on getting this power so that we can issue a remedial order. So it is an example to show that we do attach a lot of importance to the sector's response and will respect their suggestions. Finally, it's my turn. And then for the amendments to the BO, I support the amendments generally. In fact, consultation has been ongoing for quite a period of time. But still, I want to talk about the enforcement powers. Now, if our laws are to be amended in such a way that enforcement powers will be affected, say, for example, if license is suspended or if there's a public reprimand, banks will be affected. Originally, it is a good idea because it is middle of the way. How can you make sure that your intention or your objective can be achieved without overachieving it? Because originally, the disciplinary actions are on either extreme. So, are you going to impose stricter sanctions? And how can you make sure that the subject of the investigation, since we know that the powers are huge and the law or the provision may be loosely written, how can you assure us that the AI, the banks, will have the right and legitimate channel to put up a defense and argue their case? Thank you, Chair. Well, when we were working on the amendment exercise, we were aware of the culture in the banking industry. It is a highly compliant sector. But still, I think in the amendment exercise, we need to do our work, and we want to get the enforcement powers to deal with cases that are towards the lower end or in the middle of the sort of continuum. We don't believe that we need to invoke such powers often. As the chair has said, when the Hong Kong MA is to enforce the law as to the requirements, the yardsticks, etc., I think Mr. Chen from the Hong Kong MA is in a better position to answer the questions. Thank you, Chair, for your questions. As the Bureau has said in the reply, currently, banks have a very good compliance culture, so we do not expect to have many cases upcoming, and there's no urgency to invoke the powers and come up with the intermediate disciplinary actions. We'll come up with the guidelines, and we'll have adequate consultation with the industry to make sure that we're being reasonable, sensible, and there will be adequate opportunities for banks that will be affected by the powers to air their grievance. Well, in fact, the anti-money laundering ordinance already provides similar powers to us. So, and in fact, we have made reference to the international experience. I think in the exercise, we'll try to see how we can get the intermediate sort of powers that we need. We'll try to have checks and balances to make sure that there will be adequate opportunities for the institutions affected to seek a review.
Thank you. Thank you for the briefing from the administration. According to paragraph 21, the government intends to introduce it into the Legislative Council one day. If members have any comments on the proposal? No? Thank you. Thank you for the administration. Agenda item number 6, promoting the development of gold and commodity markets. Members who intend to speak may press the intend to speak button now. We would like to invite the administration to enter into the meeting room. Welcome members from FSTB as well as Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited. If you're ready, we would like to first invite Mr. Joseph Chan, Acting Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, to brief members on the paper. Please be brief so that there will be sufficient time for asking questions. Thank you. Chairman and members, today I'm here with members from Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited to introduce to you about the development of the gold and commodity markets. The outline of the National 15th Five-Year Plan is explicitly support Hong Kong in developing a commodity trading ecosystem. Under the uncertainties of the external market, the strategic importance of gold has been even more obvious. In order to this is providing us an opportunity in developing this market. We have adopted a multi-pronged approach, including increasing our inventory, building our infrastructure, enhancing gold supply, We also want to promote the development of a commodity market so that we can build an overall ecosystem. First of all, expanding gold storage capacity is a prerequisite. By supporting the clearing and settlement of gold market, we can promote the development of both upstream and downstream market. In Budget 2025, it has been promoted that within 3 years' time, we want to achieve over 2,000 tons within 3 years. Among them, Hong Kong Airport Authority has already established the establishment in 1,000 tons. We will continue to support financial institutions to expand the gold storage capacity in Hong Kong. We also hope to see a central gold clearing system in Hong Kong so that there will be a highly credible and up-to-standard services. PMCC, that is Hong Kong Precious Metal Central Clearing Company Limited, that is fully owned by the government, has already been in full force. We have representatives from the government, financial regulators, and more than 10 major banks participating in this board. They will be providing their views in order to formulate the government framework and rules of clearing system. We hope that the trial operation will be scheduled to commence this year. In January, FSTB also signed an agreement with the Shanghai Gold Exchange in order to set up a top-tier system so that there will be more establishment in the coordination of our capacity, infrastructure, and market capacity. In all areas of gold supply, we also want to promote gold traders to establish refiners in Hong Kong. Several enterprises that are internationally qualified are already expressing their interest. Apart from that, last year, FSTB have also signed a MOU with the Shenzhen Municipal Financial Regulatory Bureau. Tapping into the refining capacity in Shenzhen, we want to refine more gold for export to Hong Kong for trading and delivery in order to expand the local gold market. Well, speaking of diversifying gold investment products, we have at least 2 gold trading funds that are listed. They can trade on physical bullions as well as other products. Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited has been actively expanding different markets, and it will be reactivated in the coming months. Upon this foundation, the Hong Kong EX will continue to optimize the design of contract and the mechanism for transaction. We also support the setting up industry association. We are also planning to provide tech concession, and we will also support them in building up a training system so that we will be able to build up the gold ecosystem in Hong Kong. Under the strategic direction of the central government, we will make good use of the one country, two system advantages of Hong Kong in order to be a connector of all parties. Building upon the experience of a gold market, we will also tap into the expansion of commodity market. Since January 2025, the London Metal Exchanges has already included Hong Kong as one of the approved delivery. We now have a total of 15 LME approved warehouses in Hong Kong. Now we already have a storage of over 24,000 tons of non-ferrous metals. Under the leadership of FS, there has already been a setup of related working group. There will be even more input and comments in the 3 major directions of such development. FSTB, together with other institutions, will continue to roll out different measures. We welcome your comments today. Thank you, Secretary. Time for members to ask questions. 3 minutes question and answers include. Here are the members who have already shown their intent to speak. First, Mr. Chen Chen-ying, Alan Chan, Albert Chang, Tommy Chung, Ray Wong, Nick Chen, Webster Ng, Holden Chow, Carmen Khan, Yu Ming, Michael Ngai, Hong Kam Yin, and Lee Kwong Yu. First member, Mr. Chen Chen-ying. Thank you, Chairman. Well, as Deputy Secretary has mentioned, Hong Kong have signed an agreement with Shanghai Gold Exchange in order to promote the connectivity between the two locations. It mentioned that they will also deepen our collaboration with the Belt and Road markets as well as other market participants. Is there any plans to build a cross-border gold transaction platform that connect all these regions so that there will be even more business opportunity regarding gold clearing and settlement? Here is also mentioned that there needs to be an industry-led association. Most of the financial institutions are initiated by the industry and run by the industry. However, the working group will focus on the financial arrangement as well as the qualifications of the members. My question is, after your discussion or before you move on to the discussion, have you consulted the industry? When it enters into the phase of operation, will it still be government-led or will it be led by the industries? Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Members have asked about an industry-led association. Well, the preparatory task force will engage both local and international industry stakeholders to foster collaboration. Our target is, within this year, such association has to be established. Therefore, the setting up of the task force and the first meeting will commence shortly. Going back to your first questions regarding our collaboration with Shanghai Gold Exchange, here is our report. Actually, as you can see in the document, we have signed an MOU with Shanghai Gold Exchange in January. And Shanghai Gold Exchange has already selected to set up their warehouse in Hong Kong, proving that Hong Kong is an ideal place for gold transaction. There can also be delivery of physical gold in Hong Kong. Referring to the cooperation agreement that was signed, we will continue to develop together in order to support the strategic development of the central government. We will also stay tuned with the latest development in the international market to see if there is any collaboration required. Well, in fact, many Belt and Road countries, as the markets develop, they also have high demand in gold. Be it the FSTB or Invest Hong Kong, we have been in constant discussion with the stakeholders in those areas about the development of a gold market. We are also exploring our future collaboration. Next, Mr. Alan Chen. Thank you, Chairman. First, I want to state my stance. I also have two questions. I am very glad to see the FS in leading the Strategic Committee on Commodities, so that there will be some top-level design of commodities policies. I have two questions. First, can we upgrade our gold warehouse? The government has said that there should be over 2,000 tons of warehouse, which is 21% of that of London. However, the daily clearance is over 20 million tons. And globally speaking, the annual transaction is up to 361 billion. Will there be a 3 to 5 years quantified KPI, including the daily clearance and settlement amount, transaction volume, as well as the numbers of gold traders, the ratio between Hong Kong dollars and renminbi transactions, so that Hong Kong will not be only a warehouse center and not an influential gold market? Second, about building up a collaboration of setting up a commodity connect with the Chinese mainland. As mentioned, we are already working with the Shanghai Gold Connect. This is our exploring into the commodity market, and the LME is 706,000 it shows that the competition is on multiple level. Would gold settlement be our first step? Would we continue to work with Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Zhengzhou? That is the fourth major commodity market in Chinese mainland. Would there be a connected platform so that there will be some mutual recognition between these markets as well as a more established system that is set up for that regard? Thank you. I believe that many from the industry have already voiced out similar comments. We also want to look into how can we expand a gold and commodity market as an ecosystem, including our collaboration with the Chinese mainland market as well as other international markets. We want to take reference of that scale and standards. We also want to enrich the gold and commodity market ecosystem. By doing so, we will certainly have more bargaining power. I think we have reached consensus in this regard. Practically speaking, let's look at the central gold clearing system. Actually, this is set up by a PMCC, that is Hong Kong Precious Metal Central Clearing Company Limited. This is the governing body and it has already been established. Our target is to have a trial operation within this year. The related standards and regulations will be announced in a timely manner. As for the commodity market ecosystem, you have mentioned about the collaborations with other regions as well as the related work of RME. I wonder if the Hong Kong EX have any response.
Be brief, please. Yes, I'll be brief. For the mutual access, that has been in place for over 10 years. And all the time we have had liaison with the mainland exchanges. As far as products are concerned, we are always fine-tuning them. For the mutual access, what we want to achieve is to have the two ecosystems being connected. And this is the direction that we will adopt when we cooperate with the mainland exchanges. Thank you. Next, Mr. Albert Chuang. Thank you, Chair. We are an IFC. We have a mature equity and bond market. Commodities and derivatives are also markets that can become tools for risk management and asset allocation, attracting more talents. Once we have got this new supply chain, then we can have high-frequency traders, risk managers, etc. And in fact, it will also provide a large number of quality job opportunities. So from this perspective, you have my strong support. Now come to the paper. Well, last year, we have 200 tons. When it comes to precious metal, in future, it will become a 1,000-ton scale facility. When we look at the Singaporean airport, they have got a large gold storage, the reserve, 6-story tall, and then they can store gold and platinum, and they can keep over 15,000 tons. So I want to know whether we are going to take this as our objective. We want to be on a par with them. It means that it takes the cooperation among departments, lands department, logistics, etc., etc. So I want to know if the Bureau has been working with other policy bureaus and come up with a roadmap as well as a timetable. Secretary. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your questions. I do agree with you. For us to become a gold trading center, storage, settlement, delivery, etc., and derivatives, insurance, logistics will be along the supply chain where there will be a lot of development opportunities. Storage, let me look at it. Well, gold being one of them. And then for the gold storage, our target is to have it increased to 2,000 tons in 3 years. According to the industry's experience, it means that we can support many times more amount of gold traded. So it will also drive the demand for gold storage. So that's our 3-year target. We have been working on all fronts. The FSTB as well as Invest Hong Kong have been talking to financial institutions on related topics. And there has been a lot of interfacing. Well, at the airport, we have got a storage, and in fact, different financial institutions are either expanding their existing storage in Hong Kong, or they are interested to come to Hong Kong to establish new gold storage. And then there are other precious metals. In my opening remarks, I've said that we have already got 7 operators, and we have got 24,000 tons of ferrous metals. So we'll support the operators to establish more storage facilities. Other than the FSTB and Invest Hong Kong, for us to set up the storage facilities, we need other support measures. The Transport and Logistics Bureau, the Development Bureau, also provide support and assistance accordingly. Mr. Albert Chuang, or rather Mr. Tommy Chung, you are interested in refinery of gold and other precious metals. I think you need to import the refinery facilities and equipments. Rare earth will be involved, and it is subject to national sort of control. So do you know about the operators interested in processing it? Do they encounter any difficulties? Perhaps we should talk to the Commerce Ministry so as to come up with the facilitating measures. Mr. Chen, for refineries in Hong Kong, we have got refineries operating in Hong Kong. Well, a number of international refinery operators are interested to come to Hong Kong. We will provide the assistance that they need, say, for example, identifying the venues and providing the guidelines. The member referred to the equipments, etc. So far, we haven't received any concerns about the difficulties, but then in due course, if need be, we'll provide the assistance that they need. Next, Mr. Ray Wong. Chair, I agree that we should promote the commodities trading. Well, the energy industry is transforming itself, so we know that there is a strong demand for green metals. For us to get the funds from the ASEAN countries and the Middle East, we need to look at their aspirations and their religious preference. For the LME's mechanism, well, through the facility in Dubai, we have already covered certain precious metals. I think it is the best opportunity for us to get the price setting sort of power. We should look at the Singaporean initiative so that so that we can lower the tax rate to 5%. When it comes to carbon emission-friendly commodities, and we should have a platform to disclose the carbon footprint. In this way, we can attract international interests in ESG. We should also have hollow accredited commodities. We have got 2.1 billion Muslims. They have a lot of sovereign bonds. So I agree with the Hong Kong Federation of Industries. They have done a lot in this field. And then we have got a Q-mark scheme for Muslim-friendly services and products. Maybe we should sort of extend that to commodities trading. So we can have financing tools that are in line with their religion. Say, for example, Marabula financing approaches. We have also got logistics and storage facilities that are strictly hollow. I think you need to leave time for the Bureau to answer your question. In Malaysia, again, they have this facility, and in Dubai, they have got such a compliant sort of gold storage facility. Mr. Chen, for the green LME, I think I'll defer it to my colleagues. And then the other member was talking about the hollow accreditation. I will defer the matter to my colleagues. Within the year, we are going to set up the relevant industry-led association. Within that context, we will make sure that the concerns voiced by the member will be considered as well. For the first question, I would like to defer to my colleagues. Yes, a brief reply from the Hong Kong X. Yes, I think the member is aware of the LME-related facilities. We have the LME passports. It's like a birth certificate. It's an accreditation. Precious metals tradable on the LME platform, including those stored in Hong Kong. We have got the information covering the origin as well as the purity. It is a good sort of arrangement welcomed by the market. We're going to further enhance it. Say, for example, we have the sustainable development data. It is mainly about the carbon emission. I think, as the member has said, there is a strong demand in the mainland market. For example, in Yunnan, there's an aluminum producer. They use a low carbon method to manufacture, to refine it. It has never attracted any premium. By having the new platform, it means that we can come up with such low carbon aluminium fetching a good price, so that such developers will be given a momentum to speed up their work. I think it is something which is good, and we see an urgent and strong need in the market. So I thank the member for his questions. Next, Mr. Nick Chen. Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Let me first of all praise the Bureau as well as the Hong Kong X for doing so much in this regard. I have read the data. On the mainland, they have got 600 million tons of carbon emission trading. And then for the Hong Kong X, since the year 2022, cumulatively speaking, you have only covered 1 million tons. So it is quite a big difference. And then for the European case, I think it is 7 times ours. Of course, the mainland may not want the credits to be catching up so much, because that would exert a pressure on the manufacturers. How are you going to make good use of the one country, two system so that we become a super value adder? Bureau. Let me talk about our work, and then the Hong Kong X can also elaborate on the answers. The member is right to say that we are trying to achieve the dual carbon objectives, and there is a need to have the carbon emission trading put in place. And then the work has been ongoing as far as sustainable development is concerned, but I can defer to the Hong Kong X to cover this. Thank you, Chair. I think the member was right to say that we have noted that for the carbon market on the mainland, we need to internationalize the mainland carbon market. It is well covered in many mainland papers. The government is highly interested in that. Let me say that there are three approaches. First of all, internationalization. Other exchanges as well as Belt and Road countries. Is there anything that we can do? And then for the trading centers on the mainland, we are trying to see whether we can have some interconnectivity. And we'll try to see how overseas investors can have access to the mainland carbon market. And Hong Kong as an IFC, we should ride on our advantage. Let me be brief on the 3 points. First of all, Belt and Road countries as well as internationalization. The Hong Kong Act in the year 2023 had a international cooperation symposium in Beijing for the Belt and Road Initiative. And in fact, there is a green international working group, and we take part in that. And then in 2024, again, there is a network for the Green Express for the Belt and Road Initiative. In this way, we can share with the international investors as to their ideas, their requirements concerning green efforts. And then a word on internationalization. Probably you have seen that just a month ago, we signed a cooperation MOU with Malaysia so that we can have cooperation between the two carbon emission markets. And then we just signed something similar with the Brazilian counterpart to see whether we can have products open to mutual access. And then on the mainland, we have cooperation with exchanges offering the carbon credits. For the GBA, we are hugely interested in that because we want to have a channel for cross-boundary settlement. Maybe we can have it done together with Shenzhen or Guangzhou, and then in this way, the carbon markets on either side can be connected. Last year, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, as well as Macau, signed MOUs with us covering such cooperation. We will support the regional green transformation and low carbon emission. You know about the carbon credits. We have been cooperating with the GBA enterprises. We'll try to see whether we can have green accreditation and something like that. We are actively pursuing this line of development.
About the unique advantages of Hong Kong, this is something that we have been negotiating with the central government. Well, how can we offer ourselves in the process of internationalizations? There have been a number of methods. For example, the standardization of the voluntary carbon trading, especially some methodologies that are internationally recognized. We also want to understand the needs of the investors. In the areas of clearing, settling, and registration, both in Hong Kong and internationally speaking, there have been a lot of exchanges that we have been in communications with, including the carbon trading as well as the Environment and Ecology Ministry. Next, Mr. Wap Sung. Thank you, Chairman. I support the promotion of a gold and commodity market. I just have two questions. First, about the Hong Kong Gold Central Clearing System. In paragraph 9 to 10, you have mentioned about the PMCC. It says that it needs no funding from the government, and there will be a marketized arrangement. Well, as I can see, this is a very significant financial infrastructure. What would be the income? What would be the level of charges? Would it be adjusted according to the market ability? How would they collect data? Second, about tax concession. As mentioned in the document, there will be 8.25%, 700 million of operation income as in threshold. When you conduct your analysis, were you aware of the international competitors like Singapore, Dubai, and London? Have you compared yourselves with them? In the areas of certainty of tax or attractiveness, competitiveness of our tax, have there been any test or analysis that it is the best scenario? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members, for your question. Let's focus on the manpower and the budget that is required in the Hong Kong Gold Central Clearing System. In areas of operation, as said, it will be operated in a market principle. It does not involve any government funding. As for the PMCC, at this moment, both the operation and management is under FSTB. So the manpower and expenditure will be covered by FSTB. As you mentioned about the future, of course, we will take reference to the market conditions as well as other related factors in order to ensure that on one hand the system is effective, on the other hand it also fulfills the market principle and competitiveness. As for tax, you've asked about tax arrangements in the future. Well, focusing on gold, we will look into the qualified institutions that transact gold in Hong Kong. We will consider providing them with tax concessions so that we can attract them to expand their businesses in Hong Kong. At this moment, we are looking into this matter with the stakeholders. There will be details that we put together. As we do that, we will also take reference to the tax concessions offered by our counterparts. Different stakeholders will also be involved. Thank you. Next, Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chairman. I do welcome the promotion of gold and commodity markets. I'm pretty concerned because in Tuen Mun there will be a green maritime center, and part of its operation is for green energy as well as a green methane. It will help create job opportunities in the district, especially in Tuen Mun. I am looking forward to it. I have questions regarding gold transaction. According to the document, now the government is actively expanding warehouse, and HKAA will have 250 tons. In the future, it will be expanded into 1,000 tons. Comparing with competitors within the region, perhaps the capacity will be larger than ours. If we're not just comparing the warehouse capacity, is there any other ways to highlight the advantages of Hong Kong? Of course, geopolitics is actually providing us with advantages because we have Chinese mainland as our hinterland. Given the current geopolitics, there will be many parties that select us as the location for transaction. People also mention about the setting out of standardization. Since we are promoting the commodity market and we are connecting with global south markets as well as the Belt and Road markets, perhaps we can optimize certain gold standards that is more widely accepted in the market. I mean, can we build up our own brand in order to consolidate our advantages? Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your comments. As we promote the gold exchange market as well as our warehouse capacity, we have taken into reference the regional markets. Well, we hope that we can exceed 2,000 tons within 3 years. That is our target. On one hand, as mentioned, the HKAA and different financial institutions have shown their intention in expanding gold warehouse in Hong Kong. Some of them even wants to build a new gold warehouse in Hong Kong. To exceed 2,000 tons within 3 years is our target. As we have met this target, judging the market demands, I trust that we can continue to expand our capacity. As mentioned by the members about standardization, the development of our Hong Kong gold trading market and the clearing system, the key to our success is the liquidity and the compliance of our standards with international standards, because Hong Kong is the IFC, and certainly we have to connect with the Chinese mainland market as well as the global market. So in the final rules and regulations of the clearing company, that will certainly build connections and compliance. As mentioned, a trial operation will commence within this year. Next, Ms. Carmen Khan. Chairman, well, the development of Hong Kong gold trading market involves storage capacity, financial infrastructure, gold supply, diversifying gold investment products, establishment of industry-led association, tax incentives, talent training, as well as cooperation with different markets. I hope that we would be able to find a key point for us to contribute to the National Strategic Development Plan. Well, we do have clearing and settlement. The transaction infrastructure is our strength. Well, about building up a refinery, I wonder if we should consider it, as a whole, like the whole ecosystem. For instance, Shenzhen, you have now signed an MOU with the Shenzhen Municipal Regulatory Building. You can make use of the refining capacity. I think we need to have our emphasis. Well, if the FSTB together with Invest Hong Kong have to attract them to Hong Kong, when we have to provide them with with land and location, it is not necessarily our greatest strength. I just want to see if we can be more focused. For example, our capacity as a financial infrastructure and clearing, perhaps that will be our strength. If not, then we have to make good use of the potentials that we have under one country, two systems. I also concerns about, we'll see members from Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Company here. You also mentioned about the consultation. Well, in the future, will there be any investors' education and other deployment? As for commodity market, I also want to serve the National Strategic Development Plan. China is one of the major consumer country. Well, I hope that the strategic committee led by FS will not neglect that. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your comments and questions. You have put it very correctly. As the financial center of the country, we have to be integrated and to contribute to the National Strategic Plan. In the 15th Five-Year Plan, it has stipulated that Hong Kong has to develop a commodity trading ecosystem. That's all from me. I would like to defer it to HKEX. Well, regarding the refinery, I do agree that apart from the Bureau and Invest Hong Kong needs to connect with them, sometimes they have to look for plants, they look for facilities, and it does require intergovernmental collaborations. We are already in connections with the related government departments to communicate with them. As you have rightfully pointed out, we also have to make use of the potentials that we have in GBDA. Well, upon the foundation of our MOU with the Shenzhen Municipal Financial Regulatory Bureau, we have to begin some trading collaborations in value-adding services. Just now, Ms. Khan has also asked about the commodity and other financial markets products. Thank you for your question. Regarding the gold contracts, about its liquidity and how can we continue to communicate with the industry. We want to relaunch gold futures. We will continue to consult market participants and stakeholders, optimize contract design, and improve the delivery mechanism. As we can see right now, regarding the gold construction and storage, a lot of investors are in need of diversifying their risk given the geopolitics. Therefore, the spot gold trading as well as the design of gold contract is in great need by the market. I hope that in the future we will be able to fulfill their requirements so that the transaction of gold futures will witness substantial growth. Of course, we will continue our efforts in investors' education. We will certainly continue to consult different stakeholders. I have to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Next, Mr. Yu Meng. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Administration. The document has stipulated the policy direction of developing Hong Kong as a gold trading centers, and I am glad to see the operation of the existing 15 warehouses. It is very ideal. I just wonder if there are any of them that will be located at the Northern Metropolis. Will you make use of that particular area for setting up a warehouse? Because it will be beneficial to the residents that to find jobs in the region. The training of talents is also very critical, as mentioned by other members. I am aware that the Hong Kong Financial Development Council will allocate resources to promote different training courses. Well, what will be the training organizations that you collaborate with? How many talents do you expect to train so that gold and commodity market development can be supported? Because with proper talents, we would be able to have sustainable development of one particular industry. I wonder how will it be promoted. Thank you.
Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your sort of recognition of our work. First of all, for the recognized storage facilities, 15 of them, as I mentioned, some in Qingyi, Kwai Ching, Yuen Long, others in Tuen Mun, or in the new territories. 2 will be set up in Changsha Wan in West Kowloon, so a total of 15. Would like to have new storage facilities to be built in Hong Kong. We need to look at the question of land. We need certain hardware support, and we need to see whether sufficient space is available. There is indeed a certain we need a certain amount of space to develop the storage facility. The member talked about the Northern Metropolis. For companies interested in setting up storage facilities, as I said, we asked the Development Bureau and the Transport and Logistics Bureau to join us in the discussion. As to the nurturing of talents, we have asked the Financial Services Development Council to have a pilot program to nurture the talents. What we want to do is to enable both the market as well as the potential talents to know more about it. So in the longer term, we would like to have a training framework. If we're still preparing for it, the FSDC is talking to different stakeholders to see how the training framework is to be set up. And in the meantime, we will continue to liaise with the LegCo. Next, Mr. Michael Ai. Thank you, Chair. The administration has already established the Hong Kong Precious Metals Central Clearing Company Limited. It will be in charge of the central clearing system for gold in Hong Kong. And I hope that we can have connectivity with the Shanghai counterpart. Well, for the Hong Kong central clearing system for gold, it is going to be fully owned by the government. How much money will be involved? And I want to know whether the government has already earmarked money for this purpose. And then after the test run, can you not tell us about the fee structures and how do they compare with other exchanges? Will Hong Kong's gold market be affected in terms of our competitiveness? Bureau. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for his recognition of our work. For our gold trading center, just now I talked about the central clearing system for gold, as well as the Hong Kong Precious Metals Central Clearing Company Limited. That is a very important step. The Precious Metals Central Clearing Company Limited is a wholly government-owned company. The Bureau oversees this company, and so the manpower needed comes under our overall structure. As to the fee structure in the future, we have yet to have a pilot operation, but it will take place later this year. We will in due course make an announcement about the fees to be charged. But then, as the member said, we want to promote the development of a gold trading center. We need to be competitive. So for the PMCC to lay down the fee structure, market factors will be taken into account so that we are competitive. We can effectively help the industry so that they use their clearing facility to enhance the efficiency of gold trading. And in this way, we can attract more business. Next, Mr. Hong Kam Yin. Thank you, Chair. To implement the 15th five-year plan, the National 15th Five-Year Plan, I'm in full support of developing Hong Kong into an international gold center. We should ride on the opportunity. I'm not sure if the department has concerned setting up an industry zone in the northern metropolis for gold and other precious metal, refinery, trading, etc., can all be focused in the northern metropolis. This will also facilitate the national strategies as well. In paragraph 17, it is said that the government will explore offering tax incentives for eligible institutions conducting gold trading and settlement. Well, it is said that announcements will be made in due course, but then time is not on our side. Will it be done within the year? And finally, it is said that the government will help the industry to establish an industry-led association. If an enterprise would like to join the association, what can they do? And they would also like to reflect their views to you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for his questions. 3 of them. The member was right to say that for storage, LME storage or refinery, etc., land is needed for that purpose. Just now I talked about 15 LME facilities. 13 of them are in the new territories. We'll continue to help such enterprises to have storage or refinery being built in Hong Kong. We'll work with our colleagues to provide the support. I think the new territories would be a suitable location for the development of such facilities. The second question is about tax incentives. I want to cover 2 areas. First of all, we'd like to improve the tax incentives for trusts as well as family office. I think the second question was about the industry-led association. If enterprises are interested to join, what would happen? Right. The third question is about tax incentives. Sorry, Chair, I overstood. Well, we'd like to fine-tune the tax incentives for funds as well as single-family office. We're going to expand the scope to cover precious metals as well, so that we can promote gold-related trading activities. We would like to introduce the bill in the first half of this year, and then the investment in precious metal, including gold, will be boosted. And then for the tax incentives, you find the details in paragraph 17. That's for gold trading and settlement in Hong Kong. We know that we need to act swiftly. We have already started our work with the relevant institutions to study the matter, and we will soon come back to you and tell you about the progress. The final question was about the industry-led association. Within this year, we'll be able to establish the industry association. The preparatory task force will soon be set up and will soon have its first meeting. And then for stakeholders that are already active, we welcome members' suggestions, and you can give us names as to enterprises that would be suitable for joining the association. Next, Mr. Lee. I think it is good to have this idea. I think we should make good use of the platform of the Hong Kong X, so that the financing, risk management, and asset allocation of gold and precious metal can be carried out. For the LME storage facilities, I think the development has been good. 15 of them as at end of March. It means that we have raised our status as a trading and delivery center for precious metal. How are we going to diversify the products so that there will be more enterprises coming here to get listed, and then we can play a stronger role in financing? And then for the accredited storage facilities, what is our policy? And then are we going to further expand the scale and functions of the LME storage facilities, the number, the capacity, and as well as the metals that can be covered? And in this way, we can have more business in relation to commodities trading, and then we can become a regional hub for commodities trading. Thank you for your questions. Let me take the questions that I can answer, and then I will defer to the Hong Kong X. Well, investment is one of our focus. 2 years ago, retail investors were allowed to invest in tokenized gold products as governed by the Hong Kong X. We have already got 5 ETF for gold listed in Hong Kong, and the total market value exceeds $20 billion. Well, this year there will be exchange-traded funds covering gold that would allow for physical delivery. Last month, we saw that tokenization was launched for the market. So you can see that for gold-related trading, we have seen developments on different fronts, and we have gained progress. For the details, I would like to defer to the Hong Kong X. Yes, Hong Kong X. I'd like to thank the member for his support in relation to the ecosystem. For the Hong Kong X, we would like to diversify the ecosystem as much as possible. that's the direction that we have adopted. And then the Bureau also mentioned that we have got 5 gold ETFs and 1 being a leverage product for the assets under management reaching almost $28 billion. It's been growing. And then the transaction volume was $740 million. We'll encourage issuers to continue to list such gold ETFs in Hong Kong. We would like to cut the trading costs, and therefore we have been keeping up a dialogue with the issuers as well as the clients. We would like to lower the thresholds. In June last year, the number of lots in the SPDR, instead of 5, we made it 1. So it is one of the improvement measures. And then for the gold futures, the circulation will mean that the hedging will benefit from it, because that would enable the ETF ecosystem to lower its costs. So we'll try our best to fine-tune that. And then when it comes to the raising of capital, last year 6 resource companies got listed in Hong Kong, raising $30 billion, and they've been performing well. For such large transactions, they are very active in Hong Kong. For the first quarter in Hong Kong, we have got 2 mining enterprises, one issuing a convertible bond measuring $2.5 billion. So for the gold ecosystem, we'll continue to improve it so that enterprises and ETFs will be attracted to come to Hong Kong. For the other 2 questions, I would like to defer to my colleague. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Let me briefly talk about the operating effectiveness and the growth trend. I'm happy to say that for LME accredited facilities, we've gained some results. Well, I will have to interrupt you. I need to add another 5 minutes to our extended meeting time. So we need to extend the meeting time by another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Till January last year, we already have 15 accredited warehouses and a total of 24,000 tons. Well, at the beginning, by last July, there was only 8,000 tons, so there has been some substantial growth. In recent years, we have already rolled out a number of measures. Apart from establishing some physical warehouse, we also continue to optimize the infrastructure and the operation. We actively participate in industry's discussion through the large commodity committee. In that strategic committee, we will be able to discuss with market stakeholders in order to continue to improve the market environment. Thank you. So I also have 2 short questions. First, as mentioned by the administration, you will provide certain tax concession to gold transaction as well as some qualified operators. I do understand that if a certain major institutions can enjoy tax concession, it will be a major attraction. Well, for the SMEs or those players who are not reaching your target yet, I wonder how can you further expand your scope? Just like profit tax, that is a 2-tier system. You can also offer a lower tax rate for the SMEs. Do you have any similar thoughts in mind so that it will be more universal, so that enterprises of different scale and backgrounds can be benefit? Well, focusing on the futures and derivative products in commodity market. Well, perhaps that will be some cross clearing house or cross product type clearing systems. Well, because of the historical factor, we have a number of separate clearing house. Can we optimize the arrangement by allowing a shared or a common deposit? It is actually providing a more favorable environment to the players. It will encourage more transaction. I have a interesting claim. My company has been involved in gold transaction activities. I will take your first question, and the rest I will defer to HKX. We are looking into the tax incentives. Well, as mentioned, we want to offer some qualified institution tax incentives so that they will come to Hong Kong for trading or other businesses. So this is one of our target. We welcome your further comments, Chairman, after this meeting. And as mentioned, we want to invite them to expand their business in Hong Kong. So for those who have existing businesses in Hong Kong, will be one of our targets as well. Hope it will set things clear. We will also first work together with the existing operators in Hong Kong. The second question regarding the cross clearing house facilitation, I would like to defer it to Hong Kong X. Thank you, Chairman. Well, we want to create a diverse industry, diverse assets ecosystem. So just now, Chairman has mentioned about the facilitation of the transaction of derivative products. This is something that we continue to improve. For example, the risk management mechanism of derivative products like closed margins, types of collateral, this is something that we have been constantly looking into. Well, you have also mentioned about cross-clearing house. This is rather complex. However, we will continue to look into this matter with the related parties. Finally, you also talked about the types of collateral. Well, at OTC Clear, we are already allowing people to use renminbi treasury bond as one of the collateral. We will continue to improve in this regard so that investors will be able to make better use of different types of assets as their collateral. We will continue to work on this. Thank you. Thank you, administration, and thank you for joining this meeting. Item number 7, any other business? If there is no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.